Hello, hello, hello. What is up, everybody? How y'all doing? Welcome, welcome. Full crew in here already. Nice. We got that. Do a little sharing later today. Scotty Skill Studio, good morning. You're there early, my friend. Josh, John, Fossey, Noisy Foisey. I say Fossey, like Fogwa, but Noisy Foisey, huh? Okay, Joe, hello. Mike, there you are. Hope your day's going well. Smooth and quiet. Even all 2FS. No N scale today, but soon though, Bryn. We're going to do HO mainly, but still, but we'll get there. Sunday fun day, MotoGP later. Where's it at? I am off my MotoGP game. I did watch highlights from not Austria, maybe. No, it was more recent than that. Maybe it was Austria. I forget. Best part of Sunday. You're too kind, my friend. Dominic, hello. Model guy. Phil. Sylvain. Any early questions? Wayne, hello there. Matt, 58. Hello, hello, hello. Go do some training stuff today. What up, Craig? How are you, brother? How is it down there? Is it calming down a little? It's calmed down a little bit up here. I think the worst of the summer heat might finally be behind us. I watched a little bit, Mike. I watched the time trial, the Vuelta de España. Just getting started. It's a little bit of a weird broadcast. You know, it's they don't put any of the love that they do in the Tour de France. It's kind of like some dudes with cell phones, like just calling the race, even though it's Bob and Christian Van de Velde. But it's good. Yeah, I watch a little bit of it. I haven't watched the crash or anything today, but I've kind of pay attention a little bit. It's fresh because of the Olympics and the Tour de France and everything. Greg Mix, hot and humid like a sauna every day, man. Will it ever stop? No, I doubt it. I doubt it. Red Bull ring. Okay, Chris, thanks, man. Yeah, I thought it was that. But yeah, I watched a bit. You know, it's funny because I must be really out of the loop, but I'm not used to them swinging their legs out like that with their feet. I haven't watched MotoGP in a while. Like when they start doing that, where they swing their leg out when they slow down, the full thing comes off the peg. I thought that was strange. Maybe it's just not paying attention. Yeah, I'm not a huge MotoGP guy. At least the new stuff. Martin James says, "Hey, just bought a couple glass file. Great tip. Never would have thought of getting one. Just ordered TF4. Thank you, Martin. It's hot and smoky from the Dixie fire." Yeah, the winds keep playing up here a little bit, and we're getting some of the smoke one day, then it shifts a little bit. It's not nearly as bad as last year, or as Denver has it. So, but yeah, that fire is ginormous. Let's see here. Lower the mic volume a little bit. Robert, hello. Slide sideways into turns. Yeah, it's the whole thing, but they like swing their whole foot off, and then like the whole leg comes out and everything. And I get the angle of attacks and the slides and that stuff. That's always been pretty cool. But I'm used to just kind of the knee flapping out. But now they bring the whole leg off. I was like, huh. Ozzy's scale modeler's secret. What's your big secret, Oz? I'm doing okay. It's a beautiful Sunday so far. The worst of the heat finally ended last night. So they're going to be sending it up to that fire, I think, soon. Okay, cool. Thanks, I guess. Oh, man. Fire season is a thing. I know Greece and Turkey, too, are friends over there in the Aegean Mediterranean are dealing with that stuff. Same thing. The whole band across the planet is just burning. Yeah, South Dakota. Yeah, because my younger brother went to Idaho for vacation, and they left a little bit early. The fire smoke was so bad in Idaho as well. Yeah, it's just every year. And I'm sure we'll be reading about this in a couple of months with our Aussie friends too, because their fire season's pretty serious. I sprayed some pink, Craig. Actually came out pretty good. We'll talk about it here in a sec, but yeah, get everybody a few minutes to roll in. Say hello, get settled in. Siberia is no joke with fires. Yeah, it's just kind of a thing now, right? We're going to run out of trees because they're all going to fucking burn. It's a problem, especially for a publisher. I need paper. Okay, bought a new lawnmower, Greg says, like mowing the grass. You know, it was, I know that, Greg. Hold on. I'm trying to think. It'd probably be, I think my dad had set the sprinklers up for, you know, like an overnight sprinkling of the lawn in the morning. And as kids, we were the child labor. That's why my parents had children. We did the dishes, we did the lawn, we did everything. Trash, that's what we're for. That's why millennials have it so easy. Parents would kick back, watch football, and we couldn't watch the games until all our stuff was done. That's how it was. My dad ran a tight ship. But yeah, I remember mowing the lawn the day after sprinklers, and you're like, no, I know what you mean. It's just a mess. Just clogs the blades. You're trying to get it out of the bag into the trash bag with all the cuttings and trim. They're all wet and yucky. Your shoes are all green. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Luke, how are you? Fan Carello 29. Good morning from Paris. Good evening. Bonsoir. Countryside, French countryside. That's where I want to be, Franco. Is it Fanch? Fancharella? Like Poncherella, but Fancharella? Your drag change center, gravity, some drag, braking, pivot point. Great course going. Yeah, it's the whole thing, man. It's fascinating. Don't get me wrong. I really liked it. It's a little weird, you know, but I mean the foot coming out, but I get that, but what they're trying to do, and some didn't do it, and some did do it. But yeah, it was pretty cool to watch. I haven't watched it, you know, I probably watched like 20 minutes, you know what I mean? Like I watched a good chunk of it. I haven't watched a lot of this because nothing else on. There was IndyCar Saturday, and I think NASCAR's on right now, and they're running the road course at Indy at the Indy track. I think Penske has put on like a double race weekend. I cannot get into IndyCar, man. It just cannot stand the way they look. It drives me nuts. But it's good to see my boy Roman Grosjean doing pretty well, though. Let's see. So just finished mowing. Yeah, exactly. Way to go, Matt. That's what I like to hear. Got to earn them strides. Two-wheeler guy, yeah. I have a bike. It is the Tamiya 12 scale. It's one of the NSR 500s. It's an older one, probably early 80s kit. It's still beautiful. I stripped it down, bought new decals for it, and it's sat in a box for 20 years. One of these days we'll pull that. That might be another one we start working on some civilian stuff. Nothing like a new lawnmower though, right? Heiko, big hello from Germany. Gute Nacht. How's it going over there in Europe? I know Europe's also had some records. I think there were some records are falling every year. Records are made to be broken, and Mother Earth's like, okay, let's have some fun. Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any motorcycles. My father was also strict in that regard. His college roommate died in a motorcycle accident. He forbade all the boys, there's 3 of us, from riding bikes as young kids. So never really got into it as far as riding goes. Did design a few of them, but never rode any. Vivian Watts here. Hello. Hello. Yeah, so John Barnacote, I see it. Good thing I got the KINGART brushes when I did, because you have a stock for. Yeah, it'll probably take a couple months for those people to restock. I would guess they don't know what happened. I should write to them actually. I should. Hey, by the way, sorry for that, because that's legit. I went in and saw the sale on KINGART for the brushes listed in the description, and yeah. Okay, let's see if let's see what we got here. Hold on, let me see if you guys can see this. Share screen, switch to this one. Let's click this one here. You guys see this on screen? See the train on screen? Just confirm for me, please. I've not shared 4 screens before. So there's me, the hand, the music, and then this Instagram page. I don't know how to zoom on it though, which is, you can't zoom on this thing either. Yeah. Anyway. But if you guys can see that, let me know, please. On that. 46 watching. Okay, yeah, we'll get going here in a sec. Phil, hello. Yep. Okay, sweet. So this is kind of what we're going to be doing today. We got a little bit going on. I put some pink down earlier. We're going to spray some more. The red was this color. So we'll do some stuff here in a sec. We'll get going. The old Kenny Roberts bikes, yeah. The old black and yellow. As a Steeler fan, I always liked that as a kid. I always had Kenny Roberts stickers as a Steeler fan because because Robert's always had the black and yellow. Nero, hello. Good evening, Gary. Looking good, Mr. Kata. Yeah, I did a little bit of work. Most of it was masking. Craig Cole put me in masking hell. So the WarBonnet scheme, as these are called, apparently, which is obviously it's at the Santa Fe. But yeah, I was in Tamiya masking tape prison yesterday. Haven't done that in a minute either. Not a big masking guy. I don't know anybody that really, really likes masking. And if they do, I think they're lying. It's a little therapeutic, but it can be a little bit archaic. Let's go back to this setup here. Okay. Get my face off screen. So yeah, so this is what we're going to be doing today is what I showed there for a second. We're heavily faded and worn rail stuff today. And then we're going to do a little bit on this guy. Same thing, container, but we're going to work in a green scheme. And then I actually had some extra pink in the airbrush. So I dusted the top of this ongoing project. This is the one from a few streams ago as well, but I dusted some pink up there as well. Any early questions? Everybody just kind of chilling today? Yeah, weathering. 40-foot ink. Hey, what's up, man? How are you? How do you all got caught up in the picking basil? You cooking? Almost to start. So what is it for you? Probably midday already? East Coast, you guys 2-3 p.m.? Everybody good? I say hellos to everybody. I grab everybody. Yeah, let's go. Brooko, there you are. How are you? Just going back up. Saying, make sure I said hello. Want to be polite and courteous to all my friends and fans here. You got everybody. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Did I miss any questions? No, I didn't. Did I? You guys are just chilling like villains. I see you, Nog in the Nog. How are you? I know we talked bike, but I didn't say hello. Apologies. Okay. All right, my friends, let's do this. So we're gonna mix up some paint and do some airbrushing to start. Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Thank you, Matt. You are my man for that. Yes, please hit the like button. Do subscribe if you've not subscribed yet. All of that helps the channel growth. We've had a nice steady run here in first big month of July, full month, and then into August now. Yeah, 8 p.m. in UK. Yeah, that's right. My European fellows are in 8, 9 p.m. in Europe. Question: how much time do you have on chipping with hairspray? Can you work on it for say a few? Oh, you can work on it for a while, Vivian. If you've got everything, the process is all done, all the painting done, all the hairspray on, all the top stuff on, you've got probably up to 2-3 weeks tops. But I would say 3, 4, 5 days of really good chipping ahead of you. You'll be okay as long as the top coat's on. If it's just hairspray and you left it alone, then eventually that'll just evaporate out. I don't know the time frame on that, but I would definitely have a top coat of paint on over the hairspray and you'll be okay. Okay, I'll put a link in this one, Greg. It's technically speaking, it's a terrible cutting mat. It's more of a desk protector, if that makes sense. And the back of this is like a sticky film, so it doesn't shift around. And I have a white desk, so it's kind of translucent here. Let me back up a little bit. So this guy, so it kind of like a stick and peel. It's like a giant sticker. It's an Amazon thing. It's like $12, Greg. And I buy like 2 or 3 at a time, and they hold up fairly well to some cutting, but they're not self-healing. They're super thin and plasticky, and they're super cheap. But I wanted white. And the problem with a lot of cutting mats, not to throw any cutting mat under the bus, is they're reflective. So I've got this huge light over me. And so when I'm doing anything on there, this actually diffuses the light nicely, which is why I use it. It's kind of, see how it's really dead matte? We like our mats dead. That's how we roll. So that's what that is. But it's kind of it's actually, because everything's closed up, it looks a little bit more of a gray, but it's a pure white. And I think they're 1/4 inch grid, the 1 inch grids. So this is a US metric. But yeah, it's let me see. It's called just Silhouette. The company, the logo is called Silhouette. But I'll put a link in there for you, Greg, too, after the stream. But yeah, you're good, Vivian. Yeah, you'll be good for a while. Okay, so zoom me back in. So what I did, super simple. So let me back up 2 seconds just to clarify, because I had some other questions over the week of this. In terms of what I'm doing with the rail stuff in particular, and these guys here. And this is I'll just quickly recap. So this is, thank you, Craig, by the way. These are all from my boy, Craig Cole in chat, who's sent these kindly to me. to play with, including this guy. And I've taken the guts out, but we'll paint some stuff on him later too. Maybe not today, but to recap, so anything like this where we've got the color, the markings, everything on it, it's a pre-painted model. In the railroad world, this is big deal. There's a clear primer, emission model's clear primer, and then emission model's clear flat coat on top. Just this stuff here. And the reason I use a clear primer to refresh you guys is these are water-based, so they're not lacquer-based. And because of that, I'll put a primer down first for adhesion, and then we'll put a clear flat on top like a paint. So it's a primer and a paint process, and that gives the flat a little bit more durability to hold up to what we're going to do on top of it, which is adding all the weathering, basically. So it's basically been painted for us, which is cool. And that's the general process. Same thing for this guy. And there was a good question I got in an email about it because I confused some things. Wasn't clear about it in the stream. I think it was episode 6, maybe, going back a ways now. Seems like forever ago. But we laid the decals down on the raw plastic. And then even though I didn't do it on stream, I would do a clear primer over the decal and then a clear flat and then a weather. That's basic process. And that's what we've got here. What I did on this guy, because this has an intricate paint scheme, but there was only a couple little markings, and namely just the train number, which we're going to use as kind of they repainted it scenario where they painted the red around it and then painted the yellow number. So I've masked that off because I don't want to lose the number there, and I don't want to get into decals and everything on this process. So a quick way to do that, just mask off this stuff, and all the stuff under the tape is a yellow and black, and that's what actually the tape looks like, the stripes on the thing. But anywho, I taped off the complicated scheme, and I put down a light coat of pink this morning before I got started, because we're going to spray a little bit more, and I try to move it along a little bit because I don't want to be spraying too much on stream, because we're going to work on this guy, and then we're going to switch to the container, and then we might get to the boxcar again. But I had pink in the airbrush, and I just want to put it in. Could you show some heavy rust techniques in one of these models? I think railroad subs are more prone to. Yeah, we will. John, probably. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do some on the container for you later, because it's going to have like a pea yellowy green paint applied to it, and it'll be a good color to pop some rust off. Dan, how are you, man? Good to see you. Sal, there you are. Good morning. Wherever we're in Singapore, is it morning? Yes. Soon 3 a.m., 4 a.m. TC, hello from New Zealand. Yeah, I got a few Kiwis in. There's always a few Kiwis in the stream. Got more Kiwi friends than Australian friends. What's up with that? Okay, so that's the basic process. So this red here was what this red is. I put a primer over that and a flat, and I actually painted on top of it. So probably a little bit too much prep, but I was trying to figure out how I was going to do that. And let me just show you real quick again. Let's see if we pop this boy back up. Yeah. So I can't really zoom into that. You guys are gonna have to do the zoom, but you can just see how dusty it goes from this red, and it gets to that basically a pink color, and then you've got all the fading in stuff on the nose that we're going to be doing. And this is an older rail, but it's the same basic scheme, same basic. It's a newer version of that train on string, but we're doing it. They kind of all get this way. And that particular photo right there is actually the El Cajon Pass coming in Los Angeles, my hometown. So that's pretty cool, I thought. 3 a.m. Zal suddenly woke up. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I've screwed up Zal's sleeping schedule. Yeah, let's see. Everybody good? Okay, yeah. So anywho, that's where we're at. So what we're going to do is, if you look on screen, you can kind of see the slightly darker. So we're going to be painting some of the darker tones back into this model, and that's what we're going to do right now. We've got some on here. Switch back out to this screen here. So we've got some, I'm using the cursor. So we've got some kind of darker color right here, but we're going to add a little bit of other tones to this too before we get into kind of the weathering part of it. And so that's where we be. That's what we're doing. So you can see my mixing cups from this morning. I mixed a pink. That was way too pink. That was Hello Kitty pink. So then I made another pink here. And then I made those pinks from these colors. Get a fresh one here. So I used anti-fouling red and your classic numero uno white. And then I put a drop of, this kicks it down a little bit from the bright pinks to the little bit more of the dusty pink. So I'm going to make a darker version of this first one this morning. I need my red, and then I've got a red as well. But we're going to throw it instead. We're going to go a little bit warmer. So I'm going to use my Insignia red, and you can see it's almost a blood orange, which is a really nice color. Yeah, it is Cajon Pass, Scotty. I was like, I look back, I was like, why does it look so familiar? I'm like, well, that's because it's from Cajon Pass, wild blueberry capital of the world. Okay, you're testing my Trivial Pursuit, Timothy, because I honestly don't know the blueberry capital, even though I probably should know where you're from. Pete Toohey, how are you? You're not late, man. We're just getting started. Just getting started. Oops, you know what? Screwed that up right out of the gate. This is a white scheme, basically. You will find it much easier for these lighter tones to start with the whites. Not paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, we got a bit of white in there. I'm not measuring right now. I'm going to eyeball all this. We're going to put just a smidge of. That's the anti-fouling red. It's a little bit of a smoky red. It's kind of a red primer color almost. And then we're going to put one drop of the Insignia red. And then we're going to put a couple drops of the gray in. And this is just a medium sea gray. It's just what I had on my shelf. I just grabbed it. I wanted like a gray, not a tan. Live in Crestline. Worked at Fort Irwin. All right. I've rolled through Fort Irwin a few times, my friend. Back in the day. Okay, I don't need that guy. I do need my thinner though. Let's throw some, throw some thinner down. Put some paper towels down here. Brush, got some water, got my little cup of water as well. I'm going to go a smidge darker. It's actually a really nice dusty rose. Dusty rose. There's a song in there somewhere. Yeah. We tolerate you, Marines. It's all good. Oh, you're in Maine. Oh, my bad. Fort Irwin was, I was thinking Marine, but yeah, Maine. Okay. Blueberry. Where's the cranberry capital? That's the lake area. That's like the Midwest. So it's cranberries in the middle, blueberries on the East Coast. Darken this up a little bit. So starting with the white base, if you're making a light tone like this, like a pink shade here, put a drop of red in that. And I'll thin it some more. Oops, 2 drops of red. A little bit more of a pure red out of this. This is going to shift it a lot. Yeah, it's okay. I'm chasing a little bit now. It's a little bit, well, that's not too bad actually. See where we were. You can see how the red will shift it a lot. Primaries will shift tones quite a bit because all these other blends are mixes of those other colors. So they're always diluted color spectrums inside the bottles of any paint. Kind of, yeah. That's a nice color, to be honest with you. We can go darker though. Oops. Ooh, almost spilled it. I'll go have to thin this back up. This is why I'm not worried about the ratios just yet. I'm going to eyeball this because when you're mixing it to get kind of a shade that you want, and I don't really have a shade like this, these are really rare colors. You don't really dive into this too much as bottles of paint. Nobody really makes these colors in the military brands. So just kind of pull them. It's a little bit. I want something in this, but a little bit warmer, a little bit richer, just to shift it a little bit. Hey, Darren, what's up, brother? A little more Insignia red to warm it back up. Kind of an orangey red dusty color. That's nice. I want a little bit warmer hue with this. And that's because on my oil palette, my pinks and reds are really pinks and red tones. They're real pure. So I'm just kind of playing with my colors. Our mission models paint, they're water-based, Al. No, they're not. They're organic. Latex or plastic. Vinyl and latex is a plastic, and mission models uses organics, which is kind of like how they make oil paints historically and stuff like that, where they're using naturally found ingredients and they grind it up and make the colors. It's actually an older process, but you can get a finer pigment grain out of that process. So, okay, what else are we doing? We got that? Okay, cool. Let me thin that up. You know me, I always have a little bit of slow roll. Okay. It's a little thick. Since I'm dusting this down, I won't need anywhere near as much, this much paint. We're making way too much paint for what I need, but it's okay. It's all good. Okay. That's a little bit better. Okie doke. Let's spray. Right, to me is super fine. Pour some red in there, a couple. Not much. Just a little bit. Can always add more. My eyeballs on. Okay. I don't know how much I'm going to be blocking of the camera with this. Okay. Just trying to hit the vertical surfaces a little bit more. I could actually go a little bit darker, to be honest with you guys. Yeah, I probably can make a little bit darker, actually. No problem. Let's do that. I wanted a little more contrast. So let's go back to the mixture. Put a big drop of that dude in there. Put all the reds in there. Chasing the color a little bit, but this is actually pretty normal, especially if you're mixing up stuff in this nature. It would probably actually be easier to start a third batch of mix, but since I've got all this paint in here, I don't want to waste too much of it. I mean, I can, but I'm gonna get some of the pink out of there. Give that a quick stir. Make sure all the lighter colors out of the path there. Yeah, I mean, it didn't quite go dark enough, but that's okay. And I'm just trying to hit the verticals because I've already got the pink on the horizontals. So I'm gonna get a little bit more of the dusty mauve down low. Nothing crazy, super simple, super easy. We'll do the green here in about 20, 30 minutes when we get through some of this stuff. And then we'll do some oils as well. We're gonna do a lot of oils today too. A lot of weathering with the oils today. Yeah, colorblind guys. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. That's always got to suck. But yeah, it's just mostly and there's only 3 or 4 reds I actually have on hand, and that's just what I'm using. So it's just kind of a mixture of kind of doing that. You can go back and kind of figure out what I was doing that, but it's a mix of the anti-fouling red, which is kind of your darker shade. You have your pure red here, which is pretty potent, and then insignia red, which is kind of an orangish warm tone. And with the, unfortunately, we're going to be doing red and green today, 40 foot. So I apologize because I know those are the two. Aren't those the two main ones for color blindness? I'm going to drop some black on this. That is one yucky color. Need a little bit. Kind of a yucky clay. It's actually like a, it's not a bad color. It's kind of a clayish gray color now, but that's okay. Actually, with some of that in the cup right there. Just need a little bit. Got to move it through the airbrush real quick. It's just kind of custom color mixing on the fly. Just kind of spotty on the lower parts a little bit. Kind of a sooty pink. I don't know how well some of that shows up on screen, but. Not being super careful with it. I just want to kind of give it a tint. See right there behind the cab, I'm starting to get a little bit of the feel I was after. Let's go back to the back end here. I'm probably not gonna be able to hold this properly for spraying, you guys. Just need a little bit. Just kind of spitting it down. And if there's a little overspray on the silver, it's no big deal. We're going to weather all that anyway. Okay. That's probably pretty good for us to get started on this. Let me clean out the airbrush real quick. Any other questions, Jim? Yeah, that's actually the primary reason why I list all the colors out when I can, especially in the books. Quite a few customers are colorblind as well. Sometimes close enough is close enough, but I know a lot of you guys actually, that's a real legitimate struggle to deal with. So I try to accommodate some of it. So with the pigment colors and stuff like that, I'll do another pigment stream too, where we'll remix those batch of pigments that I've been showing just to kind of show you guys, because I know I constantly get asked in that one too. So let's get that guy out of here before I spill everything. Down my fresh trash can, cleaned out all my trash, did all my fluids this week. TCB. Okay, so I flush out the brush. Where's my thinner? With water. And then a little bit of thinner just so I can move on. And just put a little thinner in there. Stir it up. I'll clean the airbrush after the stream anyway. So, well, I got to switch to the green later anyway. This is probably good enough for what we're doing today. And then a little Q-tip to clean out the bowl, the cup, if you will, bowl cup, whatever you want to call it. Just gets all the residual. And then a little swoop of the tip there. Spin that in. I pulled the needle back, and then I release it into the Q-tip so I don't bend anything. If you shove that thing in there on the tip, you have the chance of bending that needle. So if you pull the needle back and then let it poke the cotton bud, it won't bend it. That's what I do there. That's just kind of a quick and down and dirty cleaning. Airbrush cleaning 101, stream 16. There you go. Okie doke. I'm letting the paint kind of dry up a little bit too while I do this. Let's get these guys out here. But we're going to use that erasability. Get my other little, a couple of these dudes. And a little guy too. So we got a little water. Got our freshly painted doohickey engine. The rail guys get super uptight. Let's see. I appreciate it. Yep, you're good. Matt Bryan, welcome. How are you? Does anyone have suggestions for good HO scale local kits, non-motorized? Yeah, there's a couple of dudes in chat, Chris, that should be able to help out with that. I have no knowledge of as far as buying what's what, an Atherin versus a scale trains versus what. I know some are better than others, and it's not. Is it Buchanan or somebody else? Yeah, Bachman. Sorry, Bachman. This is probably a fairly low on one if Craig has sent it to me. He's not giving me the good shit. So, Michael Weiss, how are you? Let's see, model. Are we going to see some oils on that? Yep, you will. You will, model guy. So what we're going to do is I could probably take the mask off now just to show you. So we've got kind of the base faded pinks, which, like I said, it starts off at this red, which we'll use some oils on the red as well. And then we'll do some oils on the silver. So it'll show you there for your MiG-21. How to work with OPR in the net. Yeah, no worries. Yep. I actually have to do some natural metal finish for you guys too, don't I? I owe a few favors. Yeah, there's a train over there howling. You'll hear some stuff. Skyers, hello. How are you, brother? How's Toronto today? Yeah, let's do that. Let's demask. Let me get my sharp instruments out. And so also I was masking the windows, and because I had the little windows go inside the cab, and I was like, oh wait, I could take these out. So I took them out. Why am I masking? Actually, I'm going to save a lot of this tape, so I'm going to try to be a little bit careful with some of the longer pieces. I'll reuse masking tape quite a bit. You could probably zoom out. You don't need me so zoomed in on this. This is the exciting part, my friends. Welcome to RSP on a Sunday, unmasking a model. And we're going to dust up these side covers and everything too. And in fact, a lot of these had like a silver gray scheme as well. I might actually mask and paint some stuff off. I don't know if we'll do it today, but let's see. I started top to bottom. Tried to be a little bit careful with this. Try to save some of this tape. When you mask stuff like this, I mean, I'm not a wealthy dude, so to me, a tape's expensive over time. I might as well take my time a minute and, unmask this carefully. And all these strips, you can reuse these a couple more times for stuff. I mean, I'm not going to use it for a competition level masking job again, but I can definitely use it for quick masks on other stuff. That's a lot of tape that went down. And I used a 1 mil tape from Tamiya for the curve stripe first, and I masked around it. That tape probably won't last. This is like taking the tracks off the Stug in the last video. It's like the most non-exciting thing. And this is basically a toys paint finish. So if you think I'm going to scratch it and stuff, I probably won't scratch it. It's pretty durable. That's not a delicate painted surface underneath. I don't want you guys to think I'm just being ham-fisted here. So you can see the yellow and black stripes that go with it. That's actually kind of nice. That dusty pink is a cool color. Yeah, I got sent reference photos of this way back when. I was like, yep, I'm going to have to do that. I don't have a choice anymore in the matter. When you see a scheme, you're like, yeah, I got to do that. You know what I mean? You guys know what I'm talking about. I probably won't save the skinny tape, but we'll get off. So I'll show you what we're going to do with this. So on the side number, like I was saying earlier, you'll see the original color underneath. I did this to save the number. So what we'll do with that is it was re-hand painted, and we'll kind of dust that up a little bit with some oils and kind of make it look a little bit more authentic. Is that the right word? Doing my collab to get my authenticity, just to annoy some of you dudes in chat. All those hip millennial words. Collab. Yeah. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. So this is yellow up in here too. And the yellows will just weather straight up with the oils. I mean, you could get really into this and mask everything, reverse, and paint the yellows slightly different if you wanted to. When you have less markings involved, in this case, you can definitely get into repainting scenarios. So sorry for the rather boring section of the the video of the stream. So yeah, we're almost done. But this is model building 101, isn't it? We all have to do this. Even the professionals. Kids don't have a motor or hard to come by. Atherin has older ones that are dummies. Oh, there's shading on those tattoos. Oh, my tattoos? There's some. Yeah, it didn't go well. Didn't go as I intended it to go. I actually want all the floral work on my arm to be solid. I'm going to redo that. Okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Well, let me get this little, did I get that piece too? Take off there. I think there's a little, did I get this one? Yeah, okay. Okay, just the nose. Unmasking. That's what we're doing today. See, if I put that as the title of the video, nobody would be here watching this, right? Like, what's he doing? They're like, yeah, I'm going to go. Almost done. And there's a little Santa Fe logo on the nose that I masked off too. And anything where I didn't quite get it perfect, that's okay. We could work with all of that because this is kind of an imperfect kind of scenario. I'm not chasing any sort of perfection. If you haven't listened to my boys' podcast, the Built Sideways, they're talking about chasing perfection in scale models. It's not something I do. But I do appreciate the theory of always striving to improve, to get better, all that fun stuff. Because I don't think there's such thing as perfection out there, right? It's one of those words we just like to use, a little bit of a cliche word. But it's, yeah, so there's a little Santa Fe logo. Boom. All right, did I get all the tape off? I think I got all the tape off. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Get the tape off my hands, though. This stuff I could pitch. Kept some of the bigger pieces. Did I miss any question? You have some fine older Atherin blue box, and yeah. See, you could, those guys know. The guys, there's a couple guys in chat that really know their stuff. If you guys want to get into some of these, but this one has a motor in it, so you can still. It gives some weight though to it, Chris. To be honest with you, it gives a little umph to it, which is kind of nice. Kind of like the Tamiya 48 scales with the old die-cast interior things to give it some weight. Because these dudes here. These guys are super light. I'm not a big fan of that. And this thing weighs nothing because it's just hollow. But this dude's like you can go to the gym with. This has got some oomph. Yeah, you can see all those plates in there for weight, which, it's got to do all the heavy lifting. But we'll dust we'll do some trucks and stuff. Probably not today. We'll save that for a future stream for sure, but kind of cool to see all the little, yeah, the interior of the engine itself. But we're gonna work on the pink part. Okay, so we're good to go. Oops, we're good to go. Let's get moving. Let's zoom back in. So we're gonna do a little bit of kind of a erasability with the Mission Models paint. Paper towels. So we do a lot of water. Yeah, so I also had taken the horn and the glass for the headlight out as well. So anytime you do a die-cast model or something to that effect, because that's what that hole is, the horns go up there, the lights go up on the head on the top there, and I'd mask those lights off. And I'd taken you see these holes here up around the casing here? Those are the railings. I popped all that off, and there's railings that go along the whole side here that I took off as well, because that way I can weather the side pieces a little bit easier. So this was prepped quite a bit. Okay, so with the Mission Models paint, we've talked about this a little bit in the past with the erasability. It's a little bit like the hairspray chipping. Everything's done the same way, it's just there's no hairspray on it, but there's multiple layers of color on that now. So we can come in with the wet brush and some water. Hey guys, what's up, Forrest? Neil, how are you? Rollout Commanders, hello from Switzerland. Okay, so I've got my chipping brush here. It's wet. I'm just checking on my skin to see how much water. There's almost no water. I just want to see how it goes. I don't want to do too much. I just want to scuff some of these edges up. Just bring some of the hot spots underneath. You see that there? Just a little kiss of that red underneath. Not too much, so just kind of a freshness to that because it's not really a chip scenario. Just kind of if these edges were brushed and touched, and because if you looked at I'll bring that reference up in a minute. There's not a lot of chipping that actually on it. The paint's actually peeling off because of the heat that goes on with this. That's a pretty difficult effect to get, and I wasn't going to attempt that today. So I'm just kind of we're kind of cheating a little bit. And I'll show you what I mean. Well, I'll pull up the reference photo again in a sec here, and we'll talk about it. So it's kind of half a dozen of one, 6 of another kind of conversation where I just want, this is kind of for like a visual appeal, just a little bit of the red hot spots coming through. It'll look cool. It won't look 100% authentic, but it'll look okay for what we're doing. I'm just really gently just scuffing that a little bit. You can see that how little water's going on that right there. See that? There you go. You don't want much. Just a touch of burnish in. It's kind of curved cover protrusion here. I won't spend too much time on this process, but I just want to show you. There's 3 or 4 layers of paint on that, so it's not cutting through too much. So just keep moving on. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can sit there, because what'll happen is if I keep trying to do that, what I'm trying to do is on that curve, I'm trying to get a little bit of a worn area off. But if I do this too much, you run the risk. There it goes, a little bit. Okay, dry the brush again. You can just see that right there. Just these little tiny little. I don't want to go too much. I'm not looking for real like scratches or anything too much. Just a little bit of the edges, a little bit of hot spots. Some of these brackets. This will give some kind of something a little bit to base the weathering off of too, and add some life to the paint at this point. This will add some kind of real subtle streaking because the water will actually kind of react with it a little bit. Again, not too much. Because of the arid climate that he's running, El Cajon Pass, baby, there's not a lot of dirty, dusty looks to this. So and that's after me studying quite a bit of this stuff for the last couple of weeks, getting ready for this stream. Like you really start studying, looking closely, you'll see that the arid climate in particular, and I'll get to you guys here in a second if there's any questions. The arid climate in particular doesn't leave a lot of dust because these aren't running through the mud and stuff like that. They're not kicking up a lot of dust. So you can see just in a general chipping conversation, not for anything in specific, but you can see kind of how nice that looks there. Just getting super, this is 87 scale. Getting some of the hot spots. Yeah, that's beautiful right there. There you go, right there. That's what I'm looking for. Stuff like that. A little bit like it was sanded down. Not too much though, because it's not really bringing up too much fresh paint. There's not much fresh paint left on that one. So this is kind of like a liquid sandpaper idea, if you will, versus like a hard chipping idea. And I have to move it around a little bit to get the right angles. And I'm trying to touch it on the, I'm trying to grab it on these little side rails so I don't get too much of my greasy handprint. But you can see up here on the top of the cab, just trying to get a little bit going. Just kind of paint distempered kind of look, not really scratched and chipped too much. So there's, again, the brush is almost dry. Just a hint of water on it. It's actually really easy, really fun. Move it around a little bit. This just kind of gets that basics of kind of that transfer of color through there a little bit. You know, these aren't the best detailed, some of the mold lines and stuff, some of the details are kind of soft and whatever, but it's plenty for what we're doing. Reload the brush with water, unload it crazy and get all the water out of there. So it's almost dry again. Oops. I went back to the old microphone after the last one. I think this one just sounds a little better. I'll drink the juicy. Yeah, we drink. You guys drinking again? You can just see how I'm starting to get a little bit of just kind of discoloration through this. And that's what I want. I want a little bit of this, and we'll bring up the reference here in a second. Like, I'm not actually looking for hardcore chips in the classic sense. Kind of a scruffy, faded, because the oils and stuff that we'll do next will really start to pull in some of the life to this. So this is the early days. It's actually quite a bit of fun. So yeah, we're just getting a little bit of just kind of discolorations in there. I'm trying to be conservative, if you will. The thing I kind of learned with the boxcar was that it's real easy to go overboard with these, even though that's kind of a, no pun intended, or all aboard. I guess you could say overboard's more of a naval term, but you know what I mean. That's the, just kind of a circular scruff. I'm just trying to, oops, got a little bit of a scratch in there. I think I hit it with the metal. I hit it with the metal of this, but so don't touch it. Like if you see something like that, I don't care about that. That's actually not terrible. That little mark right there. I didn't mean to do that. I hit it with the metal part. So I think the look with kind of the repainted, this actually, there's a few photos I found of other engines that had this kind of treatment where they'd probably done a few repaints or whatever. This thing had been in service for a while. So, are we missing any questions? You guys good? Just a question. CMD clear primer good for a flexible surface? If you're going to do it on a flexible, throw in a bit of polyurethane, Bryn. It adds a little bit of a flex agent to it for that stuff. Yep. No, I bet you that's a headache. That's why I popped the rails off of this guy. And I can't imagine what you do on the end scale stuff on a regular basis, but I'll have to tackle. No, none of the stuff you sent me had a ton of railing. But I'm really excited to do the that kind of, that's, I guess it's the civilian. I don't know what you call it. It's just a regular, what do you call the term for where people sit at the transport, the non-freight trains? Fuck me, my brain is not working. The silver one you sent me for the British rail, British light rail. I think is what it was. Can't wait to do that. So I could spend all stream doing this, so I can't spend too much time, much longer doing this for this because we got to move on. But this just gives you an idea with the scuffs and the scrapes and the bruises. And since this is working with paint, just like I do on every other type of model I do, the processes work the same way. And I'm just using the erasability factor to kind of just add some patina to this, because it kind of the fades and stuff that I'm doing here is really kind of trying to replicate what I'm seeing in let me pull that photo back up again too, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a more of a flaked off look. So I'm not quite capturing it exactly. And I think I would need a few more steps. I would probably have to like hairspray chip some of this stuff a little bit, but I didn't want to get into that with this one today because we have other stuff to do. And I kind of I thought this would work well, and it is actually. It's a really easy process. So there's nothing really like technically difficult about this. I'm trying to, like the transition between the two pinks right here, trying to get a little bit of a kind of a scruffy look in between it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a sec here. I'll pull up that photo. And I keep saying I'm going to. I'm into the zone super fast today. And I like that it fights me a little bit. I like that it's just not flaking off. And that's because I want kind of that resistance. So it's just adding a little bit of a distempered to the paint, to the faded paint. It's tough to get the angles right for you guys because it's a long piece here on the nose. Again, between the transition of colors here. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Kind of like a breakup of the two tones of the pinks in there. Because I'm going to be able to play with that with the oils as well. So there's almost like a break in there between kind of that where the fades stop and where the darker tones kind of survived. If that makes any kind of sense. Went pretty heavy with the pink on top too, so don't expect too much to come off. These sharp edges are easy to. Yeah, I agree. Can't tell if that's yellow. I scratched it with my nail and I was like, is that tape? To me, tape's the same color. And I remember masking that little triangle. It's okay. So it's kind of a cross between a chipping and a sanding a little bit. And I'm kind of cheating the look like I've said before. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. I promise. I promise. Promise, guys. Just kind of working some kind of discoloration in this. Not much to say about it. Just is what it is, which is fun. It's cool. Okay. Go too far in front. Yeah, no, but you'll see what I mean, John. Let me pull this up. Okay, so switch back to this guy. I wish I knew how to zoom in on screen with this. I don't know why I don't. Let's see. It's because it's an Instagram picture. But what you're seeing in here, if you can see the cursor, so I get my noodle in there. If you guys can you see the cursor on screen or no? I don't know if you guys can see the cursor. But anyway, I'm pointing towards the transition between the pinks on the nose of that thing. There's kind of a sharp transition, and that's where there's kind of there's a flakiness that's happening there where multiple layers of paint are flaking off of each other. It appears to, or you're having also clear coats, laminates, and stuff coming up, which is a civilian thing. You're not going to see that in military stuff quite a bit. I don't know if I can zoom on an Instagram. It's the Google Chrome window. So how do you zoom on this? View, let me see. Zoom in. Oh, wait, it does. Okay. Usually that's just a text zoom. Okay. Is that working? Okay, let's see here. Okay. So let me see what that looks. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, let me keep zooming in. What is the command for that? Oh, yeah, it's just Command plus. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, so this chasing transit guy, he puts up some nice stuff in the region. That should be, you should be able to see that a little bit better now, right? Let's make sure. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. Yeah, I'm learning too. I don't use Google Chrome at all. I'm a Safari dude. Okay, that just went crazy. Yes. So this is kind of another look right here. Let me just make sure that's showing up. Let's switch over. There we go. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, where you're getting kind of a little bit softer, dustier transition between, or I don't want to say dustier, but the dusty pinks are transitioning a little bit softer. So that's kind of what, it's kind of the same basic general idea. So this is what I'm talking about, using references. Yeah, so that's kind of, you can kind of see. Go back to this one here. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was doing with that. Just kind of getting the paint, and by masking that off, I'm able to quickly kind of do that. Yeah. Cool. Cool beans, my friend. Choo-choo you. Oh, you guys are the best. Okay, let's pull my oil palette. Should I paint the green next and then do oils all in one go, or how do you guys want to do that? You guys want me to go right to oils on this one, or do you guys want me to do to paint some green on this guy, and then we'll get all the airbrushing out of the way and shipping out of the way, and we'll do the OPR in one session? Maybe that's a little bit easier. Or do you guys want me to just do all the OPR in this right now? Which I know some of you probably want to see the silver. Control mouse scroll. Yeah, no, I've got a Ezekiel. I'm on an Apple mouse. It's the one clicker thingy. There's no wheels or anything. Command Shift 4, select the photo, take the screenshot. Yeah, okay. I was thinking about that, Leo. I was like, I should do it, but then I'm like getting all into the whole clicking thing, and I'm so much cornflakes. Yeah, I'm with you, Babs. I need some cereal, my friend. Yeah, that looked too bad though. All right, yeah, some of you guys with your hotkeys are smarter than me. Yeah, okay. That's what it's just gonna be a little bit easier to do that. So let's airbrush some. Let's just zoom out a little bit. I'm gonna throw some green on this real quick. It won't take long, I promise. This will be fast. So I won't do as much. Yeah, you guys are cool. I know you guys. No big deal. I was just trying to. So we got some Russian green modern. Why is that not modern Russian green? Who comes up with these names? You know who. Anyway, it's a nice pea green, light yellowy. So when I look out the window out there, these dudes roll by. These China shipping, this color, the other's another one, starts with an H, another Chinese brand. They all come out in these greens and they roll by my window constantly. Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. It's good to see you, man. I'm always happy when you roll by. Always happy. Let's just do it right in the thing. I'm going to get serious. A couple drops of that. 2 little smidgy drops of that. Just going to stir this up real quick. We're going to spray real light anyway. I'm not super concerned. Okay, crank the Mac out down one. Okay, so again, this has got a clear primer and a clear flat, but we're going to we're going to put a little color on the top of this guy too. Oh, stopped already. That's what I get for not cleaning. All right, I got a little Jimmy Jam in there. Hold on, guys. And try to jimmy that out with the needle. Okay, hold on here. I'm not going to fuck with that right now. Okay. I just switched airbrushes real quick because I ain't got time to pull that out and clean that up and get that blockage out of there. That's because I didn't clean properly the first time. Okay, there we go. Okay, we back in action. using? Okay. So I'm putting down a real shitty, misty, thin, light color on top of this. These get really faded and dusted. These are those shipping containers that come off the boats. And that way I could get all the painting out of the way, and then we can get right to the oils for the rest of the session. We probably won't do any pigments today. There's no reason for pigments today, so we won't do any of that today. But this will give us kind of a nice color spectrum to work on. Just kind of lighten that up. And these do have markings on it and stuff, but we're going to be kind of work with them a little bit. I'm not going to directly spray over them too much, but there'll be some overspray on the markings. It's kind of a filter pass with the paint. Because I've got some white oil, I can always bring back some of the text and lettering. I can really lighten the top up quite a bit, actually. Just a real light pass on the sides. Again, kind of not really covering the markings up too much. I don't really want to lose them or anything, but I'm going to kind of use them as well. Let's give some just simple discolorations to work with, to play with. Just kind of simple prep work. Try not to be too obvious, but I'm kind of getting just a little bit of green discoloration here. And we can do a lot with the oils with this one too. No graffiti though. These don't get nearly anywhere near the graffiti. Some of them do, but not that much. There's no access. These are all in the ports and harbors. It's really hard for those dudes to get in there. Oops. Now, it's kind of but let's do this. Since I've got everything out, let's clear flat. I want my white. Okay. One more drop of thinner. I'm just dropping. I'm going to make a light version of this. Kind of a, what are we post shading, guys? Is that what we're doing? Oh, that's nice. Okay, so I put a little white in the airbrush, lighten that green up a little bit more. So let's go for round 2. Yeah, that's gonna look great. Kind of a shitty top fade. And when you're spraying away from the edge, you'll get a sharp transition. Or I'm spraying, I guess, off the edge of the thingy, so I don't need a mask. That makes sense. Hope that makes sense. Let me do a little bit up top. Kind of holding the needle down like halfway, mostly air, just kind of lightly dusting this. Just like a mist coat. Dry this off. I think we're almost done. If you had to do a bunch of these, go pretty quick. Dominic asks, will you post the plastic pots in the 18th? No, because it's a podcast. I can't post it through YouTube, but you can just click the link that's in the description, Dominic, and you'll be able to hear it. It's just a regular podcast on, I think, on all the podcasts, Spotify, Apple, wherever podcasts are podcasts is where you'll find it. Does that make sense? Okay. Just do a little bit more, lighten this up a little bit more. I'm gonna really dust the top of this dude. Okay. All right. China shipping's ready for later. Oop, out of color, airbrush ready to clean. Okay. I think I've done airbrushing anyway for today, because that way I don't have to worry about it. Because now I got 2 airbrushes to clean. What's up, James Lynn? How are you? Yeah, so we've got the engine kind of ready for the oils, and then that's going to be ready for the oils. So now we can go straight to OPR. And we can just hum for the rest of the day, getting dirty. Yeah, so Dominic, again, that link's already down in the descriptions for the last couple of episodes for you, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. And it should take you right to their page where it's at. Okay. So I flush with water, I filter with the thingy, the thinner. It's called. How are we doing on time? Yeah, it's only, yeah, we're making good time today. Fold this guy up a little bit neater. This guy's, I can save him for later. Let's get this guy over here. Okay, switching to oils. Switching to guns, switching to guns. Okay, we have a fresh palette. Slightly different color arrangement. I'll put the fresh colors at the end of this video. Whatever, we'll give you all the colors on this one. This one's in a slightly different working order to go more with what we got going on here. And I do need my brushes. Okay, I need some thinner. Okay. Is the 18th Wednesday? Okay, nice. So I'm just getting some odorless thinner prepped. Switching to oils. So we're done with all the airbrushing, all that fun stuff. So again, I've got double side tape down there. I have to take, I should have taken that off first. I gotta do this very carefully. Actually, let me do this. Take off that. So like I said, I double side tape these 2 things down. So make sure everything lines up where I need it to go. Get this guy off first. Okay. A little bit more on screen for you guys. Gotta put those together. Okay, so the palette's kind of taped down right there. And then we'll put the thinner right up here. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Because of the length of this piece and the way it is, I'm going to put the thinner to the side. So it's over here. Those are brushes I don't want to use for this. Like I said, the only problem with using all the same kind of brushes, you have to kind of keep your mental focus between what's an oil brush and what's a paintbrush. So I'm trying to use the KINGARTs mostly for the oils, all the gold stuff for the oils. I'm going to keep that relatively pure, and then a couple red ones of the lower crayon for the blenders. Because oil and water don't mix. And it's for sure. Let's go over here. Okay, so my two little main pieces are stuck down where they're going to be. You can kind of see what I've gotten here. You can see the thinner right here. They got the palette. So what I've done here is I've got all my dark, greasy, grimy colors per normal. I flipped the dust from which used to be usually over here. So I've got all my train colors, my pinks and yellows and whites and grays that I want to use on this over here, kind of easier to reach. And then I won't be using a ton of dust. So the color spectrum will be a little bit different than what we've been watching the last couple streams. So that's what we got there. And again, I'll put all those. So like I said, when I put the oil palette links in or names in the description, they'll go in the order of the palette. So I think this is black up here. So they'll go clockwise in order. That's how I always do that. Greetings from Greece. Hello, Destination Oblivion. Christoph, how are you, brother? Welcome, welcome. How is it in Greece? It is cooking, I heard. I heard it is worse than California. It is record temps 115 plus Fahrenheit. Top tip, I put a stripe of the blue insulating tape on the end of my acrylic brushes. And yep, I meant to tape my brushes up too, Darren, actually, with some stuff so I do the same thing. I do that with my knives too. When I used to have everything on the side here, put colored tape to kind of see the handles. Pro tip. Darren says top tip. You're a pro, brother. You're a pro. We'll call you pro tip. Okay. So probably the last thing I'm going to need is some sort of... Where's my sponge? Hold on one second. I need a prop. I need a prop. So I can lean this up against. Try not to get it in the oil palette itself. Get everything kind of cozy and intimate here. Okay, we're set. We're ready to go. Let me take another look at that reference photo real quick, see what we're looking at. Apple Trails. Let me view, zoom out. Look at all this fun dusted stuff. I mean, some of this stuff's crazy good. There's a shit ton of rail reference. It is relentless in a good way. Yeah, this guy. So you can actually see on the side here, there's some pretty harsh transitions in color. There's not really a good side shot of the thing, but we'll do some things. So what I'm looking at is, let me switch to this. There you go. I forget the fourth share screen is that. Yeah, so I just want to look at this real quick, see what we're doing. See, there's not a lot of grime and grease on the actual paint itself. So most of the grimy parts are down below on the actual frame underneath. So what I'm kind of looking down here, looks pretty rusty to me down here too. It looks like it's got some oranger tones to that. Orangish tones, some of the chipping in here a little bit. It's pretty tight. But again, it's 87 scale, so we got to be pretty close and tight to this. And then let's take a look at, where was he, the other one here, this guy. On this one too. So this is a really good look at kind of what I'm talking about. The transitions of the pinks up there towards the front of the nose. See, that's actually flaked off paint. So it's a little bit trickier to replicate. We're kind of going to cheat that a little bit. And I'm just kind of looking at kind of the patchwork, grease, grime, kind of everything going on the sides here a little bit. I'll leave that one up so I can go back to that and quickly reference it. But I have to go to this so you can see what's going on. Okay. Enough chit chat. Eyeballs on. It's actually an office building, Brian. It's called the Weatherly. You can Google it. The Weatherly, WEATHERLY. It's the first high rise in Portland. Yeah, it's a big office building, or it's kind of vacated, but I'm not sure what they're doing there. Yeah, there, Daniel. Okay, have a good night. Greetings from Catalonia. Yeah. Everybody is probably getting pretty late back in Europe, so yeah. If you got to go, no big deal. I think there's a bit over 100 degrees. Yeah, we're 40 plus. Any 40 plus Celsius is cooking. 42, 43, 45. You're gonna boil. Okay. Let me prep some oil on these brushes here. Got to get in the zone for a second. Let me get this guy. Won't be doing a ton of speckling and stuff of that nature. Get that fuzz out of there. Got a flat rake. I'm just getting some thinner on the brushes just to kind of get them ready. The red handle one here will be my blender, and then the gold ones will be for color. So let's see. Let me kind of make sure I get my order, what I'm trying to do here. Okay. So I'm actually be kind of tone. This would be kind of tone on tone. I'm just looking at the reference photo real quick. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in more on the model than the palette. So just grabbing some light pink since with a little bit of gray in it. It's kind of a dusty pink color on the oil. Just kind of get me going here. Okay, you can see everything. Okay, good. It's kind of a, so I've got some slight worn, that's why the brushwork is so important. There's a little bit of patchwork really up close on this. So I'm just kind of putting this color around in that area. So I want kind of a gritty patchwork to it. This isn't really the soft, dusty armor look that we've got. This is a different type of paint wear and tear. And I'm trying to be honest to what they call the prototypes, which are the photos of the real thing. It's a little bit too wet. Also a little bit too gray. Let's put some pink oil back into that. I'm missing one blender brush too. Where is this guy? Here you go. So I need this little rake guy. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm stippling the wet oil in there. Just working this like access panel. I'm wiping the brush clean, the blender brush, as it picks up oil. And the stippling keeps it kind of gritty looking. I don't want soft on this. So I'm just trying to work with that shapes that were in there, giving kind of a hard transition. Let's try that. And this is why it's so important to work over the matte surfaces the way I do. Oh, we got a question. Oh, Ezekiel, how are you, man? I've said hello to you, Ezekiel, haven't I? Sylvain, what do you ask here? Question, do you blend with a completely dry brush or use something? In this case, I picked it up dry, and I did just what you saw there, Sylvain, was I dabbed it in the thinner. You can go either way. It depends on how much thinner is on that I've put in with the oil. Because what I'm doing every time is I've got the oil and then I've got thinner in the brush, right? So I'm adjusting like the volume knob and I can kind of look, okay, well, that's a little too wet. So I can go in with the dry blender and I could use that to blend out what I've got because there's already enough thinner down to work with. But if the paint I put down is too dry, then you can add a little thinner to your blender brush to kind of bring it back up so you can work with it. So it is kind of it's always infinitely variable. And it just depends on the moment, what's going on. Have you ever watched Taka Paint's work? It's very neato. He uses oil paints like 80%. I don't know Taka Paint. I'm not familiar with them, Zico. I'll have to check him out. Is that his Instagram? Put his Instagram or some up if you can. Hobo Shoestring, another guy. Remember, yeah, there's a ton of trained dudes out there. I'll link a couple of the guys I use as well. Life is good, my friend. Okay. So we've got, like I said, I've dried that now. So you're already starting to get kind of that sharper, kind of grittier, sharp look to it, which is what I wanted. So we're gonna put a little bit darker tones down low. So I'm gonna get a darker gray with the pink. Again, this is very different to what we've been doing with like a light to dark type weathering. This is much more specific. This is chasing your reference photo. This is being honest to the subject matter. But because oils are so powerful, I'm able to just adjust myself a little bit to recreate the look I'm after. So I'm just kind of gently kind of coffee shaking that, and your hand's kind of a little jiggly. So again, Sylvain, so that's wet oil. So I can come in with my little dry brush a little bit, blender, no other thinner. And I'm just kind of dabbing the edges a little bit. Just kind of giving a little bit of a dirtier patchwork grease to this. I don't even know if it's grease. It's just kind of the grime that gets in around what I was seeing there. And I'll pop that reference photo back up so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. I've got kind of a mental snapshot. And I don't like to follow too exact, because this model is a different version of the trains in my photo, so I can't even be that hyper exact. I can get close. I'm getting a feel and a vibe from it, but I'm not trying to go 100% on the replication. This is just kind of me learning how to discolor and weather some of this look that's really specific and unique to what these guys deal with, which is really cool. It's really fun. I'm actually enjoying this quite a bit. Okay, cool. That makes sense, Sylvain. Yeah, oil plants are a blessing. So let me pop this on screen again. Let's see, it's that view. So click this view so you guys can see. This is kind of what I'm talking about. We'll see how it's kind of that patchiness in that same section, but the train's a different actual train. And I do like that kind of oranges panel back there too. I might hand paint a little bit of like an orange square up there too, just to give it some stuff. But it's got a little bit of a different vibe. But I'm just kind of trying to get that pink weathered gritty look to this kind of side area. And this is what I'm using. So that hopefully that makes sense. Okay. And you can see I'm rolling real conservative. I'm not even trying to overdo it. This is just being a little precise, taking my time. I'm in no hurry. We've got plenty of time. It's only 1:30. And in this case, I am putting my spots down by hand versus a stippling, or the speckling, I mean. Speckling is going to put too much spots everywhere, and I'm not looking for that. I'm just kind of gently blending around what I just did. Just kind of softening the edges a little bit. So I've got a little bit of kind of the original undercolor there. I've got a little bit of the gray or pink oil in there, kind of shaping it out like flake paint a little bit. Kind of slightly whitish gray edges, kind of visually kind of making it separate. Yeah, let's see if you can get a little closer. The camera work. Whoops, just touched it. So this is, I'm visually kind of trying to trick the eye a little bit. So this is just my blender. Just kind of softening some of these little spots here a little bit. Not really streaking through it. I'm just kind of scrunching them around, if that is that a word I can use. I don't know if that translates to non-English speakers. Just kind of, you can just see just how little of the tips actually going in. Keep it PG. Okay, oil, put a little bit more of a dark gray. Oops. Up here. So I'm not really put a black in that. It's kind of a dark gray. And I'm finding as I study this, I get closer to kind of doing this for real. You know, this is my first time doing an engine like this. Is the grays seem to be a really good color for this type of work versus the blacks and deeper, greasier, grimy colors. So the dark grays, yeah, instead of using like a harsh black in there, just kind of a little bit of just kind of a discoloration through there, just to separate that panel a little bit more. And like I said, I always work in the small session, so I'm just trying to work my way through this one. And as I'm doing, I'm kind of like artificial intelligence, if you will. What's up, Joshua? How are you? So I'm kind of, what I'm into is I'm just kind of learning, because this is, truthfully be told, I've never done a rail HO engine before. So I'm kind of really trying to honest to the process and sharing with you guys as I go. And so there is a bit of a learning process even for me. So, but what I'm doing is I'm kind of getting my feel for this and what's happening with the colors. I'm studying the pinks and the faded tones, real heavily faded, and then kind of the grimier look to this without any like heavy chipping, if that makes sense. So as you can kind of, I think I'm doing a pretty solid job. Let's pull up Joe reference again. You can kind of see on the little side window there, my stuff, and then kind of, so we're getting the vibe, we're getting the feel, and you can see the pinks on the train itself, or there's more whites in there too. So I'll start putting some lighter tones on this as well and start to build some contrast. And I'm working real slow because again, I'm a little bit new to this, but at the same time, you know, if you're doing aircraft and you're switching to armor, like this is how you should proceed. You know, if you're a Gundam modeler, have never really weathered, this is kind of what I mean. Proceed in a section. So even though the giggity, I like that word too, model guy. If you guys aren't Seinfeld fans, you'll miss a lot of my subtle undertones, because I get most of my vocabulary comes from studying Kramer. I just learned Kramer. It's actually a type of English. You're okay, Joshua. We're just kind of, what we did was we painted some dusty pink tones on the rail, on the engine here, and some of the other stuff that we'll be doing a little bit. Yeah, so I'm kind of, yeah, thank you, Bryn. My train guy says I got the color spot on. So what I'm using, let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can kind of, we'll back up a little bit here, because this will kind of show you what I've got going on, the overall. Here, let me shift this over just a tad, because this is worth the discussion. You guys are real serious about this and want to, you know, as what I'm doing, make sure everything's set up. Okay, so what I've been doing, so we got this panel here. And then what I'm using here is, whoops, get out of that. Got my brush hanging out in the grays. So this is all taped down. Okay, so what I've got here, real simple. So I've got my pinks next to my grays. So I've set that up intentionally. So I've got my white, all my light tone, all the colors of the what I was looking at are right in here, with a little bit of warmth for this, and then a little grease and grime over here. And again, I'll put all this in the description for you guys with where this all is. And then up here, I've got my kind of earth tones, if you will. And these are some blues and dark greens and olives up in here. But I've got a little bit of the dark gray, which is kind of the grimier color I started to put up in the panel up in here. So this is actually dark mud. This is a faded Panzer gray or something like that. This is your UN faded white. This is your red primer pink color. I'm just going with the names on the tubes. And that's actually what I'm doing. So what I'm saying is I'm pulling a little color here. Let me get a little thinner on there. As it's summertime and warm, it's not bad. It's only 73 inside. I think today's gonna be a little bit more mellow for us. So I'm pulling a little gray. It's got a little pink and a little gray going. I want a little bit brighter tone this time. So let me pull in some of this UN white. Kind of lighten that back up. So this is me mixing on the palette. Just showing you just a real quick kind of what I'm talking about, because I'll voice it over, but I'm zoomed in so you can see it. But you can kind of see that's what I'm talking about with kind of my color spectrum. So I've got my pinks, my whites, my faded grays, my dirty grays up here, really dark colors over here. So that's kind of what's going on with all of that. Oops, I think I shifted the camera. It's like, wait, what is that? Lock that down. Okay. So I'll zoom. Yeah, that's probably good. That's a fair zoom for there. We'll stay out a little bit, and then you can kind of see the overall. So like I said in the comment before, I want to add a little bit more white to this faded pink gray color. So I'm just kind of blending one in. See what I get here the first time. That's probably a little bit, let's go a little bit whiter. There we go. It's a touch more thinner. It's a little bit on the dry side. But you can see how small that is. It looks a little bright on camera, but it's okay. We haven't blended it yet. Gotta blend it a little jiggity. Just a little bit more patchy in here. I'm kind of going around my previous efforts with the darker tones. I'm not trying to cover any of this stuff up. Now I got my blender brush. I switched real quick. Okay, it's a little dry, so get a little thinner. Wipe it off. Come back in. Just real gently blend. You can see how little we're talking about here. And that's really the trick of the tricks. The pro tip of pro tip is how little thinner is going down. In fact, there's just a smidge too much. I'm just trying to soften these up a little bit so they don't look quite so like a paintbrush stroke. And I'm almost just scuffing the tip of that brush over the whitish things I just put down. Kind of going a little bit vertical. I'm trying to create in my head kind of what I saw where the patchwork is so, it's almost so specific. If we flip this back on, if you look back onto this, you can see how specific this is. It's just not a hodgepodge of subtle blended stuff. I'm trying to really capture kind of the sharp grittiness of the tones with this. And so I'm using my bristles and my brushes. I'm still a little bit off the mark. So looking at that again, and that's why you have to keep going back. I can add more soft whites into this. I'm keeping that up for a second and we'll pop this back over here. Yeah, there we go. That looks a little better. So what I did was switch it back to camera view here. Let me zoom in again so now you can see what I'm doing on the train. So yeah, so what I've come in and done now is adding some of that. Some of it's unblended. I had to use my teeth to swap hands. Okay, I'll hold this a little bit. You can see how gritty it looks when you get up close. So let's soften a little bit of it. So this is how you work with references in this kind of conversation. It's the same principles when I'm doing the military stuff as well. You know, you got to go back, you really start studying and be real specific. Like I can get as specific as I wanted to. And the only thing that's kind of stopping me a little bit is the fact that this particular engine is a newer version and it's not quite the same. So I blame Craig for that because he sent me the wrong one. That's fine. The WarBonnet look. There we go. Yeah, we're starting to get this though. It's coming in. But you can see with a little bit of patience, just kind of building the colors up real slow. But I'm not getting super overblown with this. And what I mean by that is over here. So what I did was kind of, without really studying too much, I kind of did what I thought stuff looks like, you know, going off of kind of my military brain. Well, when you go back and now this is, I think it looks okay. But when you go back and start studying summertime, which is all the references right now, you're getting all the dry, arid looks of everything, which is much more in line with what we got going on here, where it's not covered in the dust and stuff. So that's why the number 2 brushes, that's like all this stuff we talk about. One of the key elements here is to really pull in the fact that all this is working the same. It's the same basic oil palette, same brushes, but your references guide you. And then you kind of just, you have to be honest to the references in terms of what's going on here. This is not a dusty vehicle. So I have to back off all my kind of like light, you know, how I've been teaching you guys with the light dust down first and then adding the grime. I can't do that because that's not what's happening on these things. So I have to change my spectrum, so to speak, but I can do it all. Like, this is not hard. It's, I don't mean this in terms of being pretentious, but it's like, it's the same brushes. It's the same oils. It's just really being careful, taking my time. Coming in here and just kind of, you can see there's a sink mark. For those of you who don't know what sink marks are, that's a sink mark right there that we're just leaving. So this is a Bachmann, so I'm guessing this isn't a really middle low level guys in terms of quality. The Bachmann stuff, never really played with it too much, but so again, I'm kind of carrying over some of the white lightish pinks as I going down this side here. But I can see where this gets addictive. The Ukraine is weak. Dude, that episode of Risk is so good. And by the way, you're talking to a dude that's probably watched every Seinfeld 20 or 30 times through. Like you could throw out stuff and I could tell you almost season and episode numbers. But yeah, that scene is great. Because they have to do that. If I'm not mistaken, they have to pull that out there. That's not the fumigation one, is it? Did they have to pull the board because of Jerry was fumigating the apartment? I can't remember if that's the one. But he had to leave. And they didn't trust him, so they didn't trust Newman. Yeah. Nobody can trust Newman. Ah, man, I love that show. That show's so relevant today, too. It's so crazy. So anyhow. So this little tiny axis, the smaller axis panel over here, same idea. Same kind of grayish pink tones in here. Kind of that upper little. Oh, we got a shipping notice. Arriving early. No, thank you. Okay. I don't know, something I bought. I've had to resupply tape and thinners and brushes, all sorts of stuff for you guys. You're killing me, Smalls. So I'm going to get a little bit more of a red this time. So let's see what we do here. Oh, it's not even anywhere near dark enough. It's just literally the same color as the base. So this is just coming in here with a kind of darker gray pink color. It looks gray on the thing, but when you blend it up on the palette, it's kind of, you're blending up kind of the pinks and the grays to match. And I'm just gonna have to live with that sink mark. That's no big deal. So I'm just kind of fussing the oils around a little bit. It's kind of slightly blending as I'm doing it to give it kind of that. But you can see I've worked this section here. Now I'm moving over to this section. Kind of, I'm judging my previous stuff a little bit. Just mixing some kind of red and dark gray down. Let the thinner soak out of this. It's almost like a modified dry, whoops, shoved my hand in that. Kind of like a modified dry brush technique. It's not really painting, but at the same time, I'm not really dry brushing. I'm kind of in between. Kind of building up the darker tones around that little hinges there. See, I'm drawing my panel lines. You won't see me doing capillary action with panel lines too much, to be honest with you guys. So it's just important to kind of watch how delicate that brush work is. We can do some streaks here, not too many though. I don't want to get carried away. Kind of putting some, like, pulling that residual gray up into underneath, a little bit of a shadow in there. Now we can blend some of this. Okay, that's good. Make sure the camera's good. I'll get to questions here in a second. Oops. So you can just see how little that the tip of the blending brush is just kind of pushing that oil around a little bit. And then for the streaks, I get a little bit more thinner on. I reset my tip of the blending brush just so I can come in and kind of clean these up. So oftentimes what I like to do is, I'm not really working this section just yet, but I am getting some early streaks because it's convenient, if that makes sense. Because you will get a little bit of overlap between the various sections. And so oftentimes I'll use kind of the opportunity. And I'll come back to this section as well a little bit later on. But that kind of pulls that down a little bit. So using the kind of gray tones, I'm finding is a little bit more authentic to this, to the tonal base of these trains versus the black grease and grimes. And I'm sure there are those trains that have a lot more black grease and stuff as well. Kramer's stockpiling empty cans so we can trade. They're doing the it was Mother's Day. You got the Mother's Day truck from Newman for the post office. That's why they did that, because they did the math, and Kramer had already done the math on the recycling, because in Michigan it's what, 10 cents a bottle versus 5 cents. Yeah. But it was the Mother's Day truck that threw, because they had to rent the truck otherwise. But when Newman said the Mother's Day, the mother of all holidays. Yeah. Good stuff. Joe asked, hey, Mike, if I was going out and buying 5 or 6 oil paints to start with. Okay, good question, because I wanted to address this. Thank you, Joe. Perfect question. So, because there are quite a few of you guys chatting with me offline as well, or off stream as well. If you've never bought oils before, or you just want to add these to your portfolio of products, I would recommend to build this up. Start with these colors in here with 1, 2, and 3. So you've got, and maybe the green. So you've got grab a couple tans. Doesn't matter the name, just a light beigey, creamy white tan color. Get a couple, like you got black, always get black and white. So get me at least 1 or 2 tans. So that's 4. 5 or 6. Okay, you're gonna probably, can we cheat that to 7 or 8? But get a rush tone, and then your primary, get a yellow, a red, and a blue. So you have a white and a black, a yellow, red, and blue, and then a couple just your dust colors. And then with that, you can start to blend, and you can make up quite a few of weathering tones just from that. And then as you go, Joe, what I would recommend is every time you guys buy a model, or you're making a purchase, is buy a new tube of paint if that company offers an oil paint. And that way, over the next year, you'll have a dozen colors really quickly on top of the first purchasing. And again, they will last a long time. It's a great investment. They will last like forever. So that's another episode, Eric. The golf one is where Elaine is bidding for Peterman, and she's going up against in the bidding the O'Hare Candy girl. What's her name? The boob, the braless wonder, to get the big rack. That's a whole range of connected episodes, but that one is. Is it the one where they are lightening the load, Eric? Okay, it is the one where they're tossing the bag out to lighten the load, and he pitches Newman out. Newman goes to the farm, and he meets that is all the same. It all the same. I think there's 3 of them, because they're no, that's the stolen car, Eric. My bad. That is the stolen Saab. That is when Jerry takes his car and is making a noise, and then Tony the mechanic steals Jerry's Saab, and then that's why they're chasing him down. And the clubs are in the trunk. They had the mailbags. Okay, yeah, it is. Okay, it is all the same. It's just, there's so much, dude. It's the best. He deserves every penny he gets, every Porsche he buys. That man gets his. Even though his last stand-up was terrible, it was like horrible. Okay, so here we go. Back to the fun stuff. Yeah, it was. I think it is all the clubs. Yeah, Peter. Yeah, it is, but it might be over 2 or 3 episodes. Yeah, because Elaine just wants the clubs back for Peterman. So I'm just making sure this panel's on point. That one looks pretty solid. So let's just keep going. Yeah, I get sidetracked really easily. It's all your guys' fault. I'm just doing my job here. Okay, so the panel next to it, this little wing panel thing in here, and then I'll do a little bit behind it as well. And then we can move to the green one, the shipping container. And maybe I'll move up to, maybe I'll do the whole door thing here. We'll do that first. So I'm getting kind of a dusty gray to start with. That seems to be the color of choice here, kind of a dusty pink gray. So I'm using the faded gray with a little bit of the faded red primer color, the pinkish shade I've got. And I'm actually pulling a little bit of white into this. It's right up in here. I think I can get a little bit bold and brave and being the artist with this part. And that's okay. I think what I really do appreciate in scale modeling is taking this to like 70-80% of the realism, and then that last 10 or 20 is kind of you. So I kind of want to maybe, I'm getting some real bright white chipping up in here. So I can push this little wing of this little panel right here. It's just a little piece of metal divider. Probably zoom in a little bit. Oops, I'm on the wrong setting. There we go. The wrong lens. Just kind of over dramatizing this panel a little bit. But that's okay. That's me having a good time. I'm allowed, right? Get a little bit of a warmer gray on this one too. That basic earth paint is almost dead. So this is kind of a grayer, greasier, brown gray color, kind of up in here. It's a little too wet, so I dried it off on the towel. I haven't even really put down any rush tones or anything yet either. So we're still just kind of in the early phases. A little bit of spottiness to this. Okay. A little bit more of a spottiness to this part over here too. Trying to hold my hand just far enough away and then kind of letting the coffee jiggles just kind of add a couple little bit. It's a little bit like hand speckling. And I'll pull up that. Let me show that again. I'll show you what I'm trying to do here. There's a little bit more of a brown gray tone to it as well. Soften some of this up a little bit. But you can see how delicate it is with the tip of that brush head. Just, you can see the bristle, just, it's only one or two bristles really playing around and touching that. So again, the red one is the blender. The gold one has the color on it. There's almost no thinner, just enough to kind of move it around. But as soon as you get too wet with that, the angle's a little, the light's hitting a little bit different. You can see there's, that's, see the sheen there? Like that's how little oil or thinner's in there. So it's not running or bleeding around. In fact, it's so dry, I barely use a hairdryer today. Let's lock all this in though. I did, Marino. Actually, that's basically, I have a whole pot of coffee before I start the thingy, the stream. I did do a little power bar, so I have a little bit of food in me today. So you can see how real quickly in the last 20 minutes, we've taken just this section right here and really started in without even over weathering the lower frame part there, that rib there. We've already started to just kind of, by weathering the rest of it, this builds up the contrast. And so when we pop open this photo again here, you can kind of see down right above the trucks there towards the nose, how those darker, redder, gray, brown colors kind of playing out. And that's kind of what I'm in my head trying to, but see, there's not a lot of streaks. There's not a lot of like grimy streaks coming out or anything. It's a subtle thing. So I don't want to go too much on that, even though it's kind of like your inclinations to do a lot of the streaks and bleeding on this particular thing. I think it's just, again, I'm trying to be honest to the subject matter. Okay, let's put a little bit of weathering underneath this and then up over here, and then we'll switch to the shipping container. Shipping container. So I'm just putting more of a true red with the gray. Just kind of letting those little coffee shake tremors kind of do its thing. And this is a little bit, there is a little bit of mapping mentality. And remember, the mapping is kind of building it up like a geographical map where you're kind of going inside the shape, but not to the full edge, like right in here. You can see I'm kind of going inside the shapes that I've got without painting the whole thing. And I'm leaving it a little bit kind of jaggedy. And then switching to the blender and kind of just soften up a little bit. It just kind of kills some of the brush, the paint brush strokes a little bit, kind of softly blends it without getting it too dust blended, if that makes sense. I'm just kind of, again, there's literally almost no thinner on this brush right now. It's actually a little bit more redder than what's being shown on screen. Gonna pull in a little rust red into this too. Let's see if we can pop some of this up. Oops. Trying to get kind of a dark reddish color here. I don't have any real, that's the, like if I need to buy oils, I need to buy myself a nice deep cadmium red. I don't have that. These pinks that from AK are really pink. They don't really lay down a red. Just add a little bit more of a warmth of a red into that. Kind of gently drawing around my previous spots and stains right there. It's almost dry, which is just kind of, like I said, it's kind of a scuffy dry brushing. I kind of capture that. I've been kind of trying to find that warm, reddy, darker brown tone a little bit. So I think I finally got it. So I can pull some up into here now too. So there's almost no thinner on this brush. It's almost pure paint. Just kind of scuffing along the paint, just letting it skip around a little bit. And that gives it that kind of spotty-ish, gritty. And I said, well, we'll blend this in a little bit more. And that's just finding that, if you look at the brush, see how dry that brush really is? It's just, the paint's not dry, but there's a little thinner in the paint, but that's about it. Okay, we can start blending that back a little bit. So again, starting with an almost dry blender, just kind of jiggling it a little bit. And this softens the brush strokes without, so you can see there's just a, there you go. There, that's kind of the sheen to it. So it's kind of, that's how little thinner. I'm just going to keep hammering that home for you guys. You know, coach hat on is that little bit of thinner is magic. It's finding that balance of just not having a lot of thinner. We can dry that. Okay, so just about ready to move on from this little guy for now. I'm going to blend this guy in a little bit more. Okay. I don't want to mess with it too much because I've got it kind of in a nice spot. We can start doing the same thing with the greens though a little bit. I'll get to you guys here in 2 seconds. I'm starting to kind of overdo it, but I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone. Okay, so that's that out a little bit. Okay, so we pull up our reference quicker. Yeah, they don't do the best job, model guy. I tend to agree with that. It's not how I would have done it in terms of promoting and marketing and all that stuff. The bands and the color of the tubes kind of go out on their own anyway because they get kind of gunky and the linseed oil leaks on the tubes, and so you kind of learn. Again, there's only so many colors, so it's not the end of the world, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so it's getting there. So what I would start to do is I would start to push that up, all that stuff there to kind of start getting in the really nice white chippy grays up in here around the edge of the cab. But we're kind of going to switch to the green guy here. But that should give you guys a good base to start with. And like we've done with a lot of streams, where we'll keep coming to this guy and keep coming to this. We'll keep building this out. And we'll go on the boxcar and do some stuff on that in the future as well too. Let's pull in the shipping container. So this one I don't really have any like photo reference for you guys in terms of handy stuff. This one we're going to kind of do a little bit on the fly. Do it on the fly. Just a box. Okay, put that back over to this guy. Okay, so I'm going to reload the page. No modeling music. Do you guys not hear the music? I think it was a quiet song. I could hear it. Maybe it's add to stream. Did I not have it on? Maybe I didn't have it. Sometimes with the sharing of the screens, do you hear that now? Maybe I had the wrong share. I gotta do some StreamYard study. I think I'm screwing up I'm good with 2 or 3 screens, share screens, but when I share a 4th screen, it messes up the stream. It is pretty quiet. I do have the volume a little bit on the low side. That's okay. We can put that up a little bit. This is Ocean Sunset, so it's a quiet song. Okay. Yeah, my bad. It's okay now. Thank you guys. Sweet. Any other questions? Did I miss any questions? Are we good? It's going really well. It's just kind of a nice, chill, easy stream. Definitely jealous if we lose some of that stuff in the US. It's hard to find. Yeah. Yep. It is. The shipping nightmare is beginning, by the way. The global shipping. Can you hear the colors? Yep. Can I get everybody? Skill hobbies, price aren't bad. Yeah. Okay. Just making sure I didn't miss any questions. Kenny Rogers chicken. It's a great one too, dude. The red apartment swap is the best, dude. You guys are great. I'm glad you guys like that stuff too. Yeah, okay. Okay, I think we got a pretty good handle on this. Okay. Yeah, I think what happened was when I pop up the shared screen for the train photo, it kicks out the shared screen for the Spotify channel, which is the music channel screen. So it's only letting me do in this view. So I think when I do this view here, see how it's showing the Spotify screen? When I click to the Instagram screen, when it says add to stream, with my little window here, my little magic window. So, but this one I could swap between me, this guy, and then this guy. But the other one view, that's the little thingies on the left, I can't move those around, which I don't know why. I don't know why they do it that way. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, still learning, but we're okay. Oh, Joe had to restart. That's always fun. My machine's a 2012, so when I do a restart, dude, it's like 10, 20 minutes. Yeah, that's a little flighty music. There you go. There's some Sunday afternoon music. I was hearing it the whole time because it plays in my headset the whole time, but it's good. China shipping. Okay. So because I'm on the 6th floor, one of the cool things I get to see is I see the top of these guys going outside quite a bit. So let's do a little bit of, in this one we can do a little bit of dust first, and kind of the more traditional ways, because this is a road machine, gets driven on the roads quite a bit. Yeah, those, it's great that the machines last, a decade now, but I'm ready to upgrade, Joe. I'm ready for a new one. I'm just waiting for all the chips to work themselves out. What's in what side? I think the 27-inch iMacs maybe next year. Okay. So you see over here, I've got kind of my greens over here. So I'm gonna a little bit of a cross palette because I got some yellows and greens I'm gonna want to be doing, but that's not the end of the world. So let me juice up this really pale yellow with a little bit of green, get kind of a tone on tone going. Kind of a yellowy lime chartreuse, yellow green working with here. And I've got my olives and grass green colors with my yellows. And I can throw in just a hint of buff, which is that really pale tan color. And that'll give me kind of a yellowy green, kind of yucky. Just kind of blending that up right now. This is a true wet application. Keep hitting the microphone. I'm actually getting a little bit more thinner. I'm just going to look a little contrasty right now. We're gonna blend this section pretty quick. So in this case, where there's really no sections, I have to kind of mentally break up. So about every 2 centimeters or like in a 1 inch square is what I'm going to kind of weather up. And this is working a traditional light to dark, how I usually talk about. Kind of tans and yellows with a little bit of green in it, kind of a limey, dusty color. And there's a bunch of ways you could tackle this. You could use pigments. You could do the oils that I'm doing. You could do it with paint for a while. You could actually airbrush even lighter if you wanted to. Depends on kind of the look. I want a little bit more of a gritty, kind of my style, if you will. Okay, let's dry that. Kind of lock this in place. I'm going to dry this about 70-80%. Just kind of kick some of that thinner out. So now it's a little, it looks a little shitty, but now it's workable. So I've got kind of a wet application dust and then come in with my blender. So I'm just kind of scuffing the top of those ribs back a little bit. I don't want to like super precise. Just want a little bit of kind of sporadic grittiness, dustiness to this. And I just want to make sure with this step here that I don't really have any like noticeable brush strokes, if you will. Like I don't want it to look like I brushed this. I want this to kind of have this natural look to it. Like, you know, when you get a little capillary action and then it just kind of stops and then you let it dry and you forget about it, it looks like, oh shit. Yeah, I'm just kind of making sure I get everything. That's all I'm really concerned about. And then wiping a little bit of the top part up, these ribs. So there's enough detail to work with which is nice. And then there's a little bit, if you get a little bit extra going down the side, just attend to it now so that it doesn't dry on you and stain. And this is a good type of project where if you're doing this and you get this kind of light oil on this paint and you've seen it kind of stain the paint a little bit, you can pre-wet like this and then come in and then you can add the oils this way. And this will prevent that kind of staining. See how it's a little bit more of a diffuse look, but the thinner that was down early kind of just prevents it from giving kind of a harsh stain. Just dry this work real quick. This is where this type of work really you use the hairdryer quite a bit. Locking that kind of dusty, faded look in. I got a little tide mark there, so come back in and you can clean that up. Kind of using the blender to kind of scuff up that a little bit, just by using thinner. Like not super precise, but kind of scruffy cleaning. That kind of knocks that dust off that outer rib. Kind of gives you that layered dust look in there. I can keep going up here. We can do a little bit more on the top. So this is just kind of laying down that early tones. Oh, I didn't do the silver. Oh, my bad. We'll switch back to the rail and do some of the silver weathering too. I forget who asked, Matt or somebody said. Yeah, I apologize for that. Just realized that. So I'm putting down a little bit more of a limey yellow green on this section here. This gives a little bit more depth to the kind of dust colors. Just cleaning a little bit over on the edge here. Just clean some of this up. I just don't want to get to this part just yet, so I don't want to have any problems later. I'm just starting to get some dusty discoloration in that. So now I'm going to take some dark kind of industrial olive green color, almost no thinner, kind of just dry brush the darker a little bit back. It's a little too much thinner on that. Get a little bit more paint. That'll balance it back out. It's kind of like what we did with the train cab, a little bit more of a dry brushy, kind of gritty. Just trying to use the ribs a little bit as kind of and like I said, there's a bunch of ways you can kind of tackle this kind of a piece. Looks like I picked up a little bit of a darker tone there. It's okay. Take our blender. Let me dry this real good. This I just kind of find fits this kind of style of piece a little better. Just kind of using the edge of the brush to dry brush the darker color. Switch to the blender. Kind of soften some of this up a little bit. And that way, just by putting that light dust tone down a little bit underneath, I was able to kind of give it that faded, dusty look really quickly. So just kind of taking that darker tone, kind of dry brushing it in, and then kind of blending it. And what you get is, and I don't know the descriptive term for it, but we've seen that look a lot where when stuff gets handled and touched and whatever, it freshens to a darker, dirtier version of the paint. And then you get kind of this cloudy, faded dust. So I've got kind of a nice sporadic little worn top to this. Kind of soften those up a little bit better. This guy right in here. And I'll get to you guys here in 2 seconds. Did I miss any questions? You guys are good. You're welcome, by the way. Yeah, I enjoy the videos too. So just rolling the edge of the bristles along the ribs. Just laying a little bit more consistent, darker. Kind of just blending that a little bit better. All right, let's do some fun stuff. We'll switch to I'll go a little bit more silver weathering on the train there. I forgot to do that. Okay, let's do a little, need some more thinner in there. Okay. This happens a bit. I see this all over the tops of these. So just speckling some. That gives me the kind of locations on some of them. And you take my engine grease here, kind of dilute it down. Oops, a little too, get a clump of oil and then get out of there. So I'm trying to get it kind of a translucent wet. See this one here? We can punch this dude up. So what happens is these things were, however this is all happening with the frame cranes, whatever those things are called that drop down and grab these things, they're dropping all the grease and grime. You see these big fat drops of oil and grease on the top of these. So by speckling, I'm able to kind of just put some down, and then I can come back and punch a few of them up. Try that real quick. So I just dried it to cut that tide mark down and soften some of these a little bit. That just gives it that natural there. That's a little bit more in scale now right there. Just kind of blend in the outer edges of each of those spots. Just letting a little bit of the bristles kind of nice. It's the kind of stuff you can do all day. If you like weather and these, this kind of stuff is like you could just do this all day long. And what we could do, let me switch brushes real quick. You can see the engine grease oil, actually called engine grease. It's a juicier. See how it stays a little bit on the wetter side. It'll eventually dry, and whoops, that's the pink one. We want a green one. Okay, so I'm switching to a fresh brush. I'm gonna put some fresh green back down, or kind of a play with contrast a little bit idea. So I've got kind of green on the brush there. Very carefully kind of it's a little lip right there. The camera looks a little deceiving. There it goes. You can kind of see what I've done where I've added kind of a, like a richer green kind of up in there. And you can see that's what that's how much thinner's down. So that's a good relative picture of the thinner. So these things you can play them up kind of. There's no right or wrong with this. I'm just having a good time right now. To be truthful, I'm just trying to push the discolorations up a little bit for you guys. Let's try that out. Shipping container fun. Getting beat up, dirty, grimy. Okay. Any questions while we do? Yeah, they're like the ultimate practice pieces. I could do that like all day. What do we got here? What am I missing? Miss anything good? Being a lurker? Who's being a lurker? Juan, you being a lurker? Don't be a lurker, brother. You're good. Join the club. Did I miss any questions? Make sure I didn't. Forrest asks, how do you stay focused in a project? Your process is itinerary consuming. How do you keep the flow going over the project? Joe's asked if I still have the Tiger 1. No, I sold it years ago. Gentleman, it's in the area. I think he's in the Pacific Northwest. Sold about 7 to 8 years ago. Yeah, I'm on a 27 iMac right now. It's the 27 iMac in my Adobe InDesign. I can have a full KINGART 1-to-1 spread, fully open 100%, which is great. It's a great way to design. Okay, just want to make sure I got everything. So Forrest, yeah, so stay focused in a project. It's going to be, everybody works differently, of course. References are crucial, especially if you have a really good one. You know, there's a ton of conversation in the world, in our hobby world, if you will, about, you know, personal deadlines and what you want to achieve if you're contest focused or whatever. So some of that will play into it, depending on what your personal deadlines are. If you have them, or if you don't, no big deal. For me, it's you know, getting in the groove, getting in the zone. When I get in the zone with something, I find a good reference photo will really keep things going. You know, if you don't have good references, you know, and if you're a sci-fi guy or whatever, sometimes it's a little hard, but you need to kind of, you know, figure that out and then get that kind of resolved so where you've got a really nice ability to stop and look at it. Because I find personally, the starting point for a lot of this are the reference images in particular. And even if it's not the same subject, they still help a lot. And then from there, it's going to be, you know, obviously in today's world, social media sharing and stuff plays part of it. And then there's, you know, kind of, I would say, you know, combine that with the deadlines. You know, a lot of it depends for us. It just, everybody's different. I don't, you know, there's no one answer to it. I don't find it too terribly hard. And do what you like too. A lot of times guys will, if you're fighting a model, like you just don't like the model. Like I know Zal, you're doing a Typhoon APC, the Russian one, the big bus looking thing, dude. If it's not happening for you, then don't force it. If you don't, you know what I mean? You can have the discipline to finish it, but also do what you want to do. That's a big deal. A lot of guys you get in one, sometimes it just won't happen for you. Like, that sucks. Then switch. So there's that. Like, don't feel like there's no right or wrong with that. There's never going to be. What's up, Conan? How are you? Yeah. So yeah, Wayne, I know I owe you some aircraft, my friend. But like I said, we're working our way up to it. So let's get let me pull up a thing here. Let me see if I find a good one here, what I'm looking for. So where is that? This is a good one. So let's pop this on screen. See if there's yeah. So I'm gonna maybe lose the music again, but let's add this to stream. Okay. So behind the red here in the silver gray areas on that picture on screen, let's do some of that. Okay. Yeah, okay, put the music back on. Yeah, so it looks like I have to add to stream, whatever those windows are. So that's what happens there. I think I figured that out. Okay. So that was kind of a greasy, yellowy, rusty, yucky thing there. So if you're doing aircraft, because this is relevant in that conversation, if you're doing that stuff like a MiG-21, I think you mentioned, I don't know if it was Matt or one of the Matts or Marks or somebody asked about that. Yeah, with the is it model guy wanted the MiG-21? Yeah, Edwards MiG-21 is beautiful. I've planned a project for that one for a long time. I've got one in the stash somewhere. I was given one of the early ones back in the day when Edward made the first kits. Is it a MiG-21? Is it BM? Does that sound right? I'm so rusty on my aircraft stuff. Yeah, model guy. Okay, yeah. So you guys in particular, because there is a difference here. I'll clean my eyeballs while we discuss this real quick, and then we'll do it. Is if you're working on a natural metal finish and you're working with metallics, actual metallic paint and or alclads, or even have foil or whatever it is, if you've got a glossy surface down and you're trying to do this, it won't happen. It just won't happen. You're just pushing paint around. You're going to have to figure out a balance between a matte to do the oils, a matte coat, a flat coat to get grit, tooth bite. That's what you need. So a lot of those metallics are slick as shit, especially when you aircraft sand and everything down to 2,000, 3,000 grits, and you're going for all that kind of stuff. You're going to fight this. So you're going to have to deal with the matte coat at some point in time. So that's going to be, again, this is a silver paint with a flat coat on it. This is why this will work. So you're going to have to kind of, figure that. I know Wayne, but I still need, there's a lot more fellows besides yourself on the aircraft that I have to start getting into. But yeah, the whole outfit there's a ton of MiGs, but yeah, I think it was the 21 BM kit, I think is what I got. How do you keep a balance in weathering? It's hard to get sucked into weathering process. Again, it's all references. You guys, the main core in particular is let's add to stream. You've got to look at this stuff. So this is how you control yourself, Sal. It's all this stuff right here. Like you can really see, you can see how the trucks are kind of a greasy, grimy, streaky gray, all those tones in there you're weathering, but see how the red pink is mostly a fade. You're not really seeing the grease and grime in there. So you have to, over here, you see the grease and grime on the silver much clearer. So it probably does exist on the red, but the red absorbs that color. So but you've got to really use your references and find them. And that's what goes up to the other question of staying motivated and everything else. It definitely is. That's how you strike that balance around between doing all that. So you have, some of it is experience for sure, but it's really holding yourself accountable to the references. So you've got to spend that time. You just can't pop a kit open and do it. But that's one of the big deals. Not the chasing down, walk away. I struggle with the D9R tracks. No problem, man. Was that you that posted that the other day? I saw those D9R tracks. Yeah, right up the channel's alley. Anything weathered, my friend, is right up my alley. No clean builds here, Chris Pabs, wherever you're at. You're probably not around. He left a long time ago. But yeah, no, we're good. Yeah, references out. Like if you guys are really starting to take this to where you really want to move up the food chain with all this stuff, is you have to put your time and energy. I know Craig Cole and I were chatting earlier, and man, we spend so much time looking at photos of this stuff. Most of the time I'm scrolling Instagram, it's not to look at your bullshit crap fucking models you guys throw around. Kidding. It's all references, dude. There's so much reference going on Instagram right now. All sorts of stuff. That's what I find myself saving every hour or two that I'm spending on Instagram a day. I'm just clicking and saving photos and collections. And on the back end of Instagram, you can put everything into a little collection. Just saving photos, just doesn't even matter. Finding all sorts of stuff. So you have to get into that. That's a good healthy habit, I guess you could say. What am I doing? Okay. That's what's going to start. And that goes for all the guys we ever work with on missing links and all that stuff. Was we spent so much time talking about references. We found this photo. We want to, what do you think of this, guys? What do you think this is doing? What do you think this is? All those conversations and not working in a vacuum per se of, when you find stuff and you're not 100% sure and really talking to the people, like, I'm with the train stuff because I'm so new to it. I really asking questions or looking at it, or, this is doing this is doing that, and then kind of guiding myself that way. So that's going to be the core of it. If this was the side of a MiG-21, I'm going to have just a boatload of them, which is great because there's a ton of them out there. There's a lot of good reference photos of this stuff. So that's where it's really, and I know like a Typhoon for you, Al, in particular, since it's like a brand new thing. So sometimes you'll have to look at a similar vehicle. That's like shift a gear, like, okay, well, I can't find all this that I want on this, but this over here, I find a ton of, but it's really similar. So I can put what I've seen over here onto the paint job over here. You can do that too. I do that quite a bit as well. Something did a beep. Did something beep? I think we're good. I don't know. Everybody good? Me beeping? Am I beeping over here? Justin, you hear things, my friend. I think that was on your end. Probably sitting on something, you know. How you feeling, by the way? Are you okay? Poor boy got bit by a black widow. The shit, guys, you get into, man. What are you doing? You're probably cutting wood up there in the hills somewhere. Yeah, that had not to be fun. Does it still hurt? Probably does. Poisonous bugs, insects. Okay. So I've got kind of a yellowy browny shade. Let me get going here. So again, in this case here, work light to dark. I do hope you're okay though, Judge. Sounded like your phone plug up pumped. Yeah, I am bumping stuff. It might be the Epicam. Sometimes it'll switch up between a Wi-Fi or whatever. As long as that's still going on screen. Let's just pull this through all this. So this is kind of a yucky, yellowy, looks like poo, baby poo brown. So again, I'll work light to dark. There's some panel breaks in between here. Okay. The red one's the blender brush. I'm just kind of softening all this up now. Not really streaking it. Just kind of gently softening what's there. So the first step of this was, again, looking at the reference photos and then picking the colors. So it was kind of a yellowy, brownish, rusty tone. It wasn't really like rusted. It was kind of a leaky, greasy kind of tone to it. Kind of an automotive grease color. And this is why having that matte coat is so important, because I can diffuse that out, model guy, and that's kind of how I'm getting that look right now. So if the users are the panel lines on the jets, I'm working on the panels in between. And you can see I've not really focused on the panels too much. The lines in between, I mean, kind of working my way around. I kind of push the oils up to the panel lines. If you saw that right there. See how I kind of push that up into the panel line versus actually filling it? And that gets you a little bit more of a grimier, sometimes realistic look. Kind of rotate like I'm drawing on paper. So I'm kind of brushing center out, same idea. And kind of push the oils to the edge a little bit. And again, I'm not trying to get super streaky, so I'm kind of like scruffy brushing, you know, kind of moving it all around. Not super concerned with the flat walk area just yet. Haven't really got to it. I'm trying to just do the vertical parts right now. Just kind of softly stipple with the other brush. You can see how silvers don't blend, or silvers underneath don't allow you as much of a blend. So just tapping that just kind of clouds those up a little bit. And there's just enough residual thinner on the surface to kind of make all that happen. And then what you can do, a little itch, scratch that itch. Put these other guys down for a sec. So now I come in here with a little bit of a darker brown color, brown gray tone. A little bit more thinner, mixing up on the palette. So it's a shade or two darker than the tone I just put down. Let me try that first. So now with that panel on, I can come in here a little bit, punch these up. Again, I'm not using capillary action. That would put too much thinner down. Kind of just drawing these in. There's no rush, there's no hurry. Just doing a nice tight job there. Just working slow in there. Switch into the blender. It's still pretty slippery. I can feel it. Probably don't even have enough of a matte coat on there for what I really want to do. I could have gone even more. So I get a little bit more tooth on the pink for sure, because that's the actual pink paint. Trying to do kind of a real gritty blend in here. There's a little bit of a flat section behind this first panel by the cab. It's a little bit. Just pulling that up a little bit up to the back of that panel. And again, I do the same processes where I'm just kind of working right in here for now. I'm not super concerned about the rest of the stuff. So I'm doing a little bit less the higher up I go. It's almost translucent, but I'm just doing that to make sure I'm safe. What I'll do is I'll check my references to see how intense this gets up at this point of the vehicle. The engine in this, obviously in this case, but just in the general context of what I'm doing on a mental level. So I'm just kind of real gently there, because I remember the image is pretty good. I just want to make sure I'm honest to it going all the way up. You see just a hint of the paneling around there. Same thing with this intake vent too, how much I want to do. And again, I remember visually this is not a streaky, vertical, streak-ridden machine. So I'm just kind of, my brush work's a little jiggly. Kind of should give you some good little silver reference. We'll check our work here in a sec here. Okay, so question: I have a brand new tube of oil paint, but only the linseed keeps. Yeah, you're gonna have to squeeze that out. It's a mess, Zal. The Wilder oils were doing that because they were splitting the linseed oil inside the tube. There's no way around it. Just squeeze it out until you get paint. It's a mess, dude. I've done that before. I know exactly what you're talking about. There's no easy way around that. Usually the regular tubes of oil, it's pretty well mixed in. Yeah, just keep draining it out. The problem with that's going to happen too, is Al, you'll find is that tube of oil paint and those similar to it will dry out much faster. Like they don't last anywhere near, like a couple of years they'll dry out because there's so much of the linseed oils coming out. Whereas the more blended oils that have the linseed blended really into it, they'll last for. That's why the Winsor Newtons, because they're designed for other tasks. Some of these model companies have started to split them out with where they separate the paint, the little linseed oil, and then they have like the rest filled with the linseed oil. Whatever they're doing, however they're kind of doing that technique or process, manufacturing process. All right, how are we doing? All right, just under 3 hours, not too bad. Any questions? Evan, how are you? If you're draining those, yeah, that's what's going to happen. But he's not going to have a choice in that, Evan, because what's happened is they've separated that inside the tube, and you can't really. It's hard to get in that and get that like Jimmy. I guess you could cut the whole tube apart and put that into some other like airtight container, but I noticed that when Wilder did that to their tubes, all of them were that way. Where you're just squeezing out linseed oil, and that's why my white's super dried up. There's no linseed oil left in it, so that's kind of a shit thing. Most of the art companies and the 502s don't do any stuff like that too, but yeah, it's kind of a pain in the balls. I hate that too. Let's see. So, yeah, so I'm looking at let's put this back up here. Add to stream. Yeah, so you can see that's why I was a little cautious. You see towards the top edge of the engine there, where that vent is. It's much cleaner. So there's just a little bit of a panel lining around the framework of that. So I'll do just a little tiny hint of it, and I don't need to go real strong blacks with this either. So it looks like the color spectrum I was pretty close. I don't have a horizontal break on my engine. These are all vertical panels, but on this reference has there's that nice hinge line in there where it's getting real grimy, getting a real cool look. But yeah, we did okay with the color there. And it's simple colors, you know. I can punch a little bit that up. I'll punch some of those hinges up. Music back on. Switch back to this guy. Let's put a little bit more. Punch a little bit up. A few more minutes and we'll wrap up. So any final questions? Yeah, Evan, that's he did that. I think not Adam did it, but the company did that on purpose, trying to kind of improve that. But I think it backfired a little bit. My personal interpretation, because it did. They're all like that, dude. It was just a mess. You're just sitting there squeezing, like any shit gets everywhere. You try not to make a mess, but good luck to you. Good luck to you, sir. And I do notice with them too as well that when you have to deal with that, like Zal, what you're talking about, and when they do that, it will dry faster on the palette. You'll have less of a working time as well. So because there's less linseed oil pulling out, you'll get more of a pure paint. But what will happen is that pure paint will dry out even faster. So you have to work a little faster. So you have to be a little bit more conscious of it. It's not the end of the world, but it does alter some things. So I'm just trying to almost draw in a darker brown raw umber. Just around the hinge, just punch up the hinge a little bit. So if I put any thinner on this would make a mess of the other colors and I'd be screwed. You can just draw in real careful, like just being super careful. Just a smidge of thinner. That's why I get away from a lot of the capillary action processes, because it puts too much thinner down for the type of process or type of weathering I do. So this is obviously a much more controlled kind of a deal. And if I was doing the traditional kind of capillary action with the thinner on this, all that thinner would be going in there and just muddying up everything, and you lose this kind of controlled, gritty weathering look kind of idea, whatever's going on with the OPR, whatever kind of magic it's doing can almost dry thinner brush, just kind of softening that up a little bit. But up in here, because I'm not going to have anything else to deal with, I can use a little more thinner. So I'm not saying not to do it, but you have to be smart about how you do it. Just draw that in there real nice. I'm going to start the first level of dirtying up this vent. Could always come back and darken this up, but I want to see how it looks kind of controlled and not really going too crazy. Because I do know in the real thing that's a black screen in there, but I just want to make sure that this looks appropriate. Just tighten those up. It's 187 scale, so I want to make it even more precise. Just a little kind of grease on the top of this guy. Now here I'll be the artist and add some streaks. Haven't really used this guy yet. I just want a little bit of vert in there. Dry all this off now. Looks like I bumped into it with some stuff. Let me clean up my so I hit it with something. Maybe there's some oil on my hand. Probably got oil sand. There's a little bit of oil on my finger. Okay, just clean that up. Okay, let's get in there. Any questions, guys? Yeah, I'm getting a little hungry too. Time for lunch for me. It's 3 o'clock. This went well though. We get some good stuff today. Just darken that flat up in there a little bit. Give that riveted edge a little bit of a pop. Gonna get a little grimy in there. Everybody good, everybody good. Santa Fe's coming along nice. A little WarBonnet getting a little filthy. She's a dirty girl. Everybody good, everybody good. Yeah, I've never used the MIGS oil brushes at all. I just thought that was gimmicky. How do you keep your tubes of oils top up, top down, on their sides? It's a big bin over here. I'm sure top up probably is actually better, to be honest with you. And I did this for traveling in the airplane, Sal, and I just kept it this way. I used this guy here. It's just a clear plastic, and it's got a lid. So they just happened to fit all the tubes. This is the bulk of them I have. Oh, knocking paint over. Yeah, I'll probably eat something and keep going on this guy. We've got a fresh palette. What I'll probably do is do some stuff off stream too, and keep these going along. We didn't get very far on it, but technique-wise, you know what we're doing in here is pretty fun. You can see how grimy you get, laying down a little bit of a light tone first, and then building up your dark tones on top. Very effective, kind of scruffy dry brushing with the oils. And then this dude, we painted a lot of the lighter tones with the pinks because it was originally that red. And we can actually come in and try to fade the red itself and see how that goes. We'll see what kind of luck we have with that. Yeah, so didn't even play with the yellows at all, but the yellows kind of don't fade as much as the red was doing on the imagery, on the reference images. You can see we got some good discoloration on those panels. So hopefully I did my train guys proud today. I'm gonna rework this panel a little bit. I think it's not quite as good as the other panels, so I'll do a little bit more work. But it's not hard to do. That turned out pretty good there. Just kind of a subtle little greasy. That doesn't need much. There's just a couple little colors. You're welcome, Bryn. Yeah, I hope I did you guys justice in terms of being, you know, as realistic for a first timer as I can be. There's obviously, you know, do 10 more of those and, you know, I could probably really knock that one down good. Yeah. I mean, I know my skills. I mean, I understand all that part too, but again, at the same time, I don't think I've ever weathered a shipping container, but I do look at a lot, kind of go, oh, that's nice. Well, some stuff. And there's a thousand ways to do these things too. You know, you could lay down pigments, you can dust them up, you could dust them with an airbrush in terms of a dust color. We did some simple airbrush fading first. But you can spend a lot of time on this because it's just every surface can be a weathered surface. But you can also see one thing I've noticed too is they're not as chipped as you'd think. They're not like super chipped. And I didn't get into John Fossey. I know you asked, but we'll get into some deep rust chips, those big juicy ones. We'll do some of that over here. I promise. Just have to remind me too. Sometimes I get to try to get to most things you guys ask for, if that makes sense. But yeah, we got some silver weathering in. Just kind of, but it does metallics in general. They don't blend as well. So, you know, you're gonna have to lay some mats down, you know, some flat coats, all that kind of stuff. I'll take some good pictures too. I'll put some photos up on Instagram. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, please, guys. If you've never subscribed, hey, Mike, just dropping in real quick to say thanks for you're welcome, Dustin. I can't watch them live, but still, no, you're totally, and that's the point of this too. I love having you guys. But I also know that life gets in the way, and when if you're new to YouTube, in the description down below under the title of the video, it says show more. If you click that, pops everything open. That gives you all your colors, your timestamps, and you can go through each video and kind of scroll through quickly and find stuff. And you have to hunt a little bit, but I do that on purpose. You're welcome, dog. Good to see you, man. Hope you're having a good weekend, or it's Monday for you. So yeah, have a good week. Have a good start to the week. Flat coats are justice. Yeah, for a lot of this stuff, I think you need, you know, whether it's a matte paint or a flat coat. We have a flat coat on the pre-painted parts, and then we have a flat paint. So we're kind of doing with both, which is fun. It's very workable. And in fact, I mean, I could definitely just chill all day and do it if I didn't have to eat and get to work, do other stuff. Maybe I can just retire doing streaming. So make sure you like and subscribe so I can do that. And then we'll just sit here and stream all day. Back from the holidays, yeah. No, it's. I know in Europe right now, August is the big holiday month, so a lot of you guys are probably just doing your thing. Yeah, bye, Robert. Have a good one. Poland, right? Have a good day in Poland Monday. tomorrow. Larry Russo, thank you. Appreciate that. Bill Moore, you're welcome, Bill. Good to see you. How's Tennessee today? I know where you're at. I know where y'all live. Marino, how are you? Did I not say hi to you yet? Make sure I got everybody. Everybody good? Yeah, so everybody make sure you guys hit the like button. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Wherever you were, you already left. Nero, watch the Phillies game. Who are the Phillies playing today? I don't know. God, I haven't paid attention. Football preseason starting, and I was just like, oh no, here it comes. So I switched over my Netflix and HBO last night. So we're HBO Max because I could watch Suicide Squad and all that stuff, which is good because now there's some shit for me to watch. I've gone through Netflix enough, and I've run out of stuff. So I'm caught up on all my anime and Gundams and stuff on Netflix. All right, guys, everybody good? Any final questions? Yep, catch the replay, Conan. Reds, playing the Reds. All right, Cincy Philly, that's a good game. All right, yep, everybody. This was fun. Yep, we will, Forrest. Patreon probably towards the end of this, maybe after the books come out. I'm gonna get myself in a nut bind here pretty quick. We have a lot of stuff happening with the printer, so that's gonna be my main focus. I probably might push Patreon back a couple more weeks. Yeah, we'll be on Wednesday, probably same time. We'll see what the weather is. I'll let you all know. Just check the stream, Instagram, Facebook stuff. That's where you'll find all the stuff to everything. But everybody have a good rest of your Sunday in the U.S., North America, Canadian, Mexico, South America. A lot of friends in Argentina lately. And also, if it's your Monday, have a good week. So this was fun. Thank you, guys. We'll continue on with this in future streams. We might be doing this again Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if we get back to armor or maybe some Gundams. We'll see. I got to make some decisions. After I eat, though. Food first. Everybody take care. Thank you so much. It's good times.